Chapter 1265. I said that Jade Tree facing the wind's ADC skills weren't bad, but his support was too bad, causing them to lose so badly. Sacrificing Gods seemed a bit disappointed as his silver hair unconsciously moved. He softly touched the diamond earring on his right ear as he muttered, "The support now is different." There was a big difference between the qualifiers for the provincial tournament and the Internet Cafe tournament, one of which was that it was live. Not only was there a special auditorium, there were also reporters. Because it was the provincial tournament, they also brought uniforms with Team W's logo, which were bright red and white sportswear. "What time is our match?" 1. Luo Qingshun looked at the time. There was still an hour, so it would be their turn after the two teams on stage finished playing. Sacrificing Gods had been looking around since they entered the venue, anxiously looking for that familiar figure. Yi Qianhun narrowed his eyes, and his lips curled into a helpless smile. "We'll meet in the end." "Who cares?" Sacrificing Gods gave a shrug, pretending to have a relaxed smile. But everyone could see that Sacrificing Gods was very nervous, very nervous. Luo Qingshun felt that this pair was quite interesting. Although the side mission was as hard as crossing a mountain, she suddenly wanted to know what the ending would be between the two of them. Half an hour later, the staff members brought them backstage. Because it was only the qualifiers, each team didn't have a separate lounge, and everyone was in the same lounge. There was a giant LCD TV that was broadcasting the match live. There seemed to be hostility between each team since the teams that could participate in the provincial tournament couldn't be underestimated. "Ah, isn't this God, Qian, and Sacrifice?" A clear voice suddenly sounded, attracting everyone's attention. Luo Qingshun turned around and saw a girl wearing a lavender sweater. She didn't look like an opponent, but the jacket she was wearing came from a team called AG. She seemed to be very excited. She walked up quickly and said, "I'm your fan. It's because of you that I decided to play professionally." You're openly betraying us." A man wearing the same jacket, not far away, said with a clear, joking tone. "Ha." Tang Yu said with a sweet smile, "Do you lack a mid-laner? I can substitute." There was a faint sparkle in her eyes as she looked at Yi Qianhun with the look of a little fangirl. "Kuku." Luo Qingshun cleared her throat and said, "This little sister, you're openly stealing." Tang Yu was surprised before her eyes slowly fell onto Luo Qingshun. Then there was a mysterious scream, "Ah." She excitedly charged forward to look at Luo Qingshun. You're the mid laner who zeroed in on Raging Inferno, right?" At that moment, Luo Qingshun could feel a bit of awkwardness in the air. She looked at Yi Qianhun, giving him a look that was like asking for help. Yi Qianhun gave her a slightly smiling look, but it was hard to tell if it was a smile or a pampering look. Chapter 1266. See you on the field." Tang Yu's face was red as she awkwardly scratched her head. "You have to work hard. You are the faith of all the fans." Because before, they were also her faith. It wasn't until 10 minutes into the match that Team Q slowly walked into the arena. They were wearing black uniforms, and there was a large group of fans behind them as they walked onto the stage. Sacrificing Gods was a bit surprised as his eyes stayed on Feng Wuyu for a long time. It was only when the host's voice, "Both teams, please take your seats," rang in his ears that he came back to his senses and walked towards the stage. Actually, Sacrificing Gods didn't know that Feng Wuyu with the black sunglasses had been looking at him the entire time, not leaving for a second. But he didn't know. Both sides sat down and entered the BP segment. Team Q was different from a trash team like Blazing Flame. Their style was gradually leaning towards operations. As the name implied, as long as the members of this team were good, the coach would use the resources on the map, small dragons, large dragons, towers, etc., to speed up the pace of the game. Team Q banned Luo Qingshun's dazzling Syndra and Annie from last game, as well as banning Yi Qianhun's Dust from last game. It seemed like Team Q had made a lot of preparations to face them. "How about we target their ADCs?" Sacrificing Gods suddenly said this in the voice chat, and everyone was stunned. Since the red and blue teams were on the same stage, in order to avoid too much noise, Normal large matches would use soundproof headphones to communicate. 3 seconds later, the fatty spoke first. "All right, you can ban whatever you want. Thank you, brother." In the end, sacrificing gods banned the three strongest ADCs: Callista, Dusk, and Big Mouth. Yi Qianhun's slightly bitter voice sounded in their ears. "Are you targeting him or targeting me? God Qian, if your hero pool is this shallow, you should delete the word God Qian from your life." Sacrificing gods said this while banning two more heroes, this time targeting their supports. In other words, he was targeting Feng Wuyu. After the BP segment, both sides chose their lineups. In the end, Yi Qianhun chose Little Cannon and Luo Qingshun chose a card. Everyone knew that the hero cards was her destined hero. This was a hero that could be used all over the map to provide support at any time. It was very useful in team fights. They actually released your card? Fatty finally realized what had happened when the game entered the loading screen. Generally speaking, it was impossible for any team to use Luo Qingshun's card because her card was too powerful. The hero in the card looked like a magician. His online abilities were very good, and he could recover mana after killing minions. Luo Qingshun played with ease, but the opposing mid laner was Jace, a hero with a strong consumption ability. They may be very confident in their middle lane. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes, and the corners of her mouth slightly raised into a confident smile. She liked the feeling of a strong confrontation. After all, the closer the techniques were, the more exciting it would be to win. "Don't panic. I will come to the middle lane to help you catch people," the priest said to Luo Qingshun in an extremely gentlemanly manner. Chapter 1267. Team Q's current bottom lane composition was Feng Wuyu and Yu Lin. Whether it was the previous host or sacrificing gods, there was a deep grudge between the two of them. As for the mid lane, since the other side was confident enough to use her card, they would have a taste of Luo Qingshun's card. The duo had been developing steadily in the early stages of the game. Although the other side's last hit couldn't compare to theirs, it was still considered steady. After all, Luo Qingshun and Yi Qianhun felt that she and Yi Qianhun could kill them while suppressing their blades, but the other side was very careful. They would rather expose themselves than expose themselves. The jungler can come to the bottom lane. The other side's ADC didn't dodge. Yi Qianhun said this while pointing at the grass in the middle lane. "Be careful of the other side's jungler's ambush." "All right, sacrificing gods," and Luo Qingshun replied at the same time. They didn't say anything else since everyone could clearly feel that the other side wasn't weak. After a minute, sacrificing gods who chose to jungler came to the bottom lane and hid in a triangle of grass that couldn't be seen. However, when he saw the support move slightly forward, he immediately picked her up with an EQ and used as her skill, Heaven Falls and Earth Rends, to trap her firmly. Yi Qianhun followed up with a W skill and followed it up with an E skill, taking her down with a normal attack. The other side's ADC Yu Lin flashed back to the bottom of the tower and could only silently replenish the tower. At this moment, the enemy's mid laner typed a line of words on the public chat. "Oh, sick sauce. Xiao Wu, do you see it? There are some people who don't like you and only want to kill you. Oh, invincible fatty. Shut up." A mid laner who was suppressed by 20 hits is not embarrassed to talk back. In an instant, the scene was filled with screams and boos. The commentators were a bit embarrassed and had the coaches remind them not to swear. After all, this was an online broadcast, and although it was only a qualifier, it had a bad influence. After that, Luo Qingshun sent a big move to the blue buff. Six Sauce, who had no health left and was planning on using a blue buff, was killed with a WEQ. Of course, she also managed to snatch the blue buff. If the fatty was using his mouth to argue with the other party, then she was using her absolute strength to slap the other party's face. The sound of face slapping was endless, but the cheers at the scene were getting louder and louder. Six Sauce obviously felt that he had lost face. Originally, he only wanted to taunt sacrificing gods, but in the end, he was single-handedly killed by the opponent's newbie mid laner. When the camera panned to his face, it was a completely dark expression. Dragon in 1 minute. Sacrificing gods go up and control the field of vision. Yi Qianhun didn't forget to give orders to sacrificing gods while retreating. After all, he knew that although his EQ combo had been very sharp when it came to Feng Wuyu, he was still a bit unwilling. This was because after he had used his ultimate move, he had not attacked her with any normal attacks. All right, I'll head over as soon as I finish this. I'll go with you, Luo Qingshan replied before slowly heading in the direction of the dragon. Because the field of vision around the dragon was dark, Luo Qingshan went around her blue buff. But she never thought that sacrificing gods in front of her would run into Feng Wuyu, who was controlling the field of vision around the dragon. It really was enemies on a narrow road. Sacrificing gods was stunned and didn't use any skills. Chapter 1268. So, sorry. Sacrificing God's apologetic voice came from the voice chat, but he still hesitated in the end. He knew that doing this would drag down the pace of the game, but he still didn't use his skills on her. It's fine. Luo Qingshan pursed her lips and softly said, if you want to lose to her, we can go with you. Actually, Luo Qingshan's provocation wasn't good, but it was quite effective on sacrificing gods at this time. Of course we have to win. He took a deep breath and said, only we are qualified to stand at the peak of victory. As soon as his voice fell, he was stunned by the enemy support's W skill. Everyone came forward to bombard him and take him away. When sacrificing God's corpse fell to the ground, the enemy mid-laner Six Sauce didn't forget to dance on his corpse. Even like this, Feng Wuyu still gave him a shield to protect him. At this moment, everyone in the voice chat was silent. Sacrificing gods didn't dim his screen, but rather his heart. God Qian, it's been 20 minutes. After a while, he said in the voice chat when he revived, you should give us a team fight that we can't lose. Do whatever you want. Yi Qianhun had the aura of a king in his eyes. 3 pieces of equipment and 100 more DPS than the other side's ADC, giving him enough strength to say these words. But I'm a DPS player. We have no meat other than fatty, and the other side has many control skills. Sacrificing gods seemed to have turned back into the rational sacrificing gods, as his voice became very calm. After that, Luo Qingshan changed the magic hat that she wanted to use to the Central Asia Hourglass. The Central Asia Hourglass wasn't as good as the magic hat, but it had an excellent active skill, which was the golden body in game terms. Pressing the Central Asia Hourglass, the hero you played couldn't be selected for 2 seconds, but it also couldn't be moved. I can start a team. Luo Qingshan's lips curled slightly as a faint Li Guang flashed in her eyes. They had no chance of losing this game because they had the confidence to use her card. The card that only belonged to her, the card of fate. After the big dragon's vision was set up, they looked for their opponents in the middle lane for a team battle. Luo Qingshan took the lead and used a big move to enter the enemy's group of 5. F***CK, is this person sick? Is he here to deliver himself? I like it. I like it the most when people give it to me. This wave of gifts is 666. I like this kind of mid-laner giving warmth. At this moment, the enemies who had been mocking her were instantly silenced. Luo Qingshan had directly pressed down on Central Asia's Hourglass before they could use their control skills. Golden Body on the spot tricked them into using their ultimate skills and crowd control skills. The fans were in an uproar. They were stunned by Luo Qingshan's move. Landing on the Golden Body, landing on the Golden Body, landing on the Golden Body. While they were still in a daze, Priestess used another EQ combo, followed by a big move, and all her skills landed on the mid laner. At this time, Yi Qianhun, who was in the grass, immediately came forward to deal damage, taking him away in the end. There was a small team battle between the two sides, and the entire process only lasted 2-3 seconds. After Luo Qingshan's Golden Body ended, she used a full set of skills and wiped out the other side. Chapter 1269. After the game was over, the fans were still very passionate. Since it was only the group stage of the provincial tournament, the two sides didn't shake hands. The winner stood on stage and bowed to the audience. Of course, no one would have thought what happened next. That was Team Q's Six Sauce, who was on the stage, directly scolding Shaman. Damn jungler, right? You better remember this for father. A trash like you coming to the provincial tournament. You really are laughing your head off. If it wasn't for your two C's being strong, you would be eating shit. Che. The crowd was filled with sighs, as if they were choking on his embarrassing actions. You damn. The fatty was planning on fighting back, but he was cut off by sacrificing gods. He had his hands in his pockets, and his handsome face was like a youth that had walked out of a painting. He looked up slightly, and his deep eyes had a faint sparkle as he looked at Six Sauce. Speaking of esports strength, on this stage of fighting for the highest honor, you are just a passerby. As soon as his voice fell, he gave a shrug and put his hands in his pockets, elegantly walking off the stage. The crowd shouted in unison, sacrificing gods, sacrificing gods, sacrificing gods. Luo Qingshun looked over and saw Feng Wuyu standing on stage. She wasn't wearing sunglasses this time, and her eyes were very big, like grapes. When she blinked, she could see her thick eyelashes. She really was a beautiful girl. She didn't look like a professional player at all. You trash, father. Six Sauce wanted to say something, but he was cut off by Luo Qingshun. She cleared her throat and revealed a taunting smile. Her cold eyes narrowed as she said, "Do you know what a passerby is? It's the kind that walks around the arena and then goes to the train station." There were cheers from the crowd. The other side's face turned red, and he couldn't say a single word from Luo Qingshun's rebuke. Adding in the one-sided cheers from the crowd, he felt even more embarrassed. After all, the winner was king, and the one who provoked first was cheap. Six Sauce didn't use the former, but he used the latter to the fullest. Back at the hotel, Luo Qingshun turned on her laptop and looked at the messages on the internet. Sure enough, today's incident had already dominated the front page of the esports internet. One of the most eye-catching posts was contestant passing by train station, choking on the spot after failing, losing face. Little Watermelon. I watched today's live broadcast. In the past, she used to like Team Q, but now, she had turned from a fan to a hater. How rude. Fight next year. Sacrificial God is so cool. But I heard that there are some grudges between them, and it seems to have something to do with Xiao Wu. Withered leaf on the ground. I think the phrase floating in the world is more handsome. Okay. The kind that walks to the train station 233. 3333. Pretty little Ran. Upstairs +1. I can laugh at that for a year. High Priest. I suddenly felt that your personality on the stage, just now, was infinitely charming. The fat man laughed excitedly. I almost thought you were going to rush up and fight with him. Him? Luo Qingshun's eyebrows twitched. You're talking about Six Sauce. High Priest softly replied as his eyes were bottomless. Cuckoo. Luo Qingshun seemed to have thought of something as she covered her mouth with her right hand. It can't be that Six Sauce is Feng Wuyu's. Chapter 1270. Luo Qingshun heard this and was stunned. After all, that's Six Sauce. Not to mention his height, just with his pimples, he was like heaven and earth compared to sacrificing gods. All right? Had Feng Wuyu's eyes been hit by a car? It's all in the past. We're all banner masters now, and strength speaks. Yiqian Han looked up at him and said, "After today, do you still think that ADC isn't bad?" Yiqian Han seemed very attached to Jade Tree facing the wind as an ADC, not wanting to be discussed in the same field as him. He's still lacking compared to you, God Qian. Sacrificing Gods gave a shrug and gave him a thumbs up. Who told you to be the most popular ADC on Team W? No. I feel that God Qian is about to give up his position. Fatty sat in front of the computer, staring right at the screen as he said, I feel that Qingshun is about to take his position. What the hell? Luo Qingshun was stunned as she looked in Fatty's direction. His screen was fixed on the most popular post with the title, Golden Body, Forever Mid Lane, Killing God. Over 1,000 replies and over 30,000 likes. It was enough to prove the popularity of this post. Or rather, it was Luo Qingshun's popularity. There was a legend called, try releasing your card if you have the guts. Golden Body, please call him Mid Lane Killing God. My God, isn't this title explosively handsome? Sacrificing Gods took a look and saw that the comments were from a group of fans filled with worship, warm in winter and cool in summer. Fan of W mid laner until the end of the world. Huh. Once upon a time, Golden Body really was explosively handsome, all right? I happened to be sitting on the right side of the spectator stand and could see the smiles on Team Q's faces suddenly stiffen. Shaded Sun. Ha. They were probably mocking God Qingshun for delivering himself, but they never thought that he was going to trick them. Warm Baby. I created a fan group for God Qingshun. 439663519. You can add anyone who likes him. Mid-lane killing God. Luo Qingshun's lips twitched as she said with a faint smile, "You're flattering me too much. But what you did just now was really cool." The fatty did not forget to mutter a few words, expressing the scene of a newcomer ascending to the position of the old man. Luo Qingshun casually looked at Yi Qianhun. He didn't look unhappy at all. Rather, he looked at her with a look of appreciation as his lips curled into a faint smile. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. Because of the hotel, she slept in the same room as Yi Qianhun that night. The priest wanted to come over and add a bed, but he was very firmly rejected. Yi Qianhun, I swear to the heavens. At 10:30, Sacrificing Gods didn't forget to shout at their door. Luo Qingshun, who was reading a novel on the bed, looked at Yi Qianhun and said, "How about we just have him out of bed?" In fact, she was quite unwilling. But the priest yelling at the door is not the way. No. His voice was gentle and pleasant to the ears, but he refused firmly. Then he continued, "Relax, he won't shout for more than 5 minutes." "Why?" Luo Qingshun asked in a confused voice. "Because there is someone who wants to see her, and he also wants to see who will be here soon." Yi Qianhun took a sip of his coffee and said, "Xiao will want to see him. I feel that tonight is a good chance." Chapter 1271. You're so noisy, the entire building can hear you. There was a clear and pleasant voice that slowly sounded. Feng Wuyu was casually leaning against the wall, not far away. She was wearing a light-colored denim jacket, a neat ponytail, and a pair of white canvas shoes. Her attire was exactly the same as when they had first met. There was a terrifying silence in the air. After a while, he slowly turned around and put his hands in his pocket. There was an indifferent look in his eyes as he said, "A rare guest. Do you need something?" "Yes." Feng Wuyu's smile was a bit awkward as she said, "After not seeing each other for so many years, let's have a drink." The priest in front of him was still the same as before. His silver-white hair set off his originally white skin, and the diamond on his right ear shone brightly. "Sorry, I still have a game tomorrow." Sacrificing Gods took a deep look at her with a complicated look in his dark eyes. This kind of emotion, it was hard to describe. "It's just coffee, it's not drinking wine." Feng Wuyu had a bit of disappointment in her eyes, but her lips curled even more as she looked at him and said, "The fierce jungler in the hearts of the fans. You wouldn't be this scared, right?" "Whatever you say." He gritted his teeth, and there wasn't a trace of warmth on his face as he turned to leave. Suji. This name, how long? It had been since someone called him that. Once upon a time, that beautiful and cute girl with first-class support skills. She would always call after him. Suji, Suji, Suji. It was probably after she left that he changed his name to Death God, Sacrificing Gods. Cold, dark, and unapproachable name. In an elegant coffee shop, the low sound of a cello filled the atmosphere, and there was a rich coffee smell in the air. Sacrificing Gods ordered a cup of cappuccino for himself and a cup of chocolate for Feng Wuyu. She looked at the chocolate in front of her and couldn't help revealing a faint smile. He was still sacrificing gods, but she was no longer his Feng Wuyu. "What did you come looking for me for?" Sacrificing Gods saw her tired face and finally lowered his voice. "If you're tired, you can go back and rest." "You really want to fight to the end?" Feng Wuyu's question was a bit strange, but it was very serious as she asked this. When the priest heard this, the atmosphere that had already eased up completely disappeared. He narrowed his cold eyes, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. "Do you really not want me to fight to my best?" "I think so too." The corners of his lips curled up even more as he looked at her and said, "After all, we're enemies now. It's only right that you don't participate like us. But do you look down on your families, Dan, so much?" She bit her lip and wanted to say something, but she swallowed her words when they reached her mouth. After a long time, when the performer on the stage finished his song, she sighed and said, "Be careful of your support." "What? Are you trying to sow discord?" Priest raised his eyebrows and drank the coffee in one gulp. "So your Team Q likes to play this kind of trick. I don't think you know who he is." Feng Wuyu tightly clenched her fists before letting go. She bit her lip and said, "He was our team's ADC before. I think you should have some impression of him." In the end, she came looking for him for his own good. She suddenly felt that this was good. At least they had a chance to argue. Chapter 1272. On the way back to the hotel, sacrificing gods felt his mind go blank. He didn't know why Feng Wuyu came looking for him. He didn't even know why she brought this news to him. Could it be that she hadn't changed? The next few days of the competition went very smoothly. Team W didn't meet any opponents and smoothly entered the group stage with first place in points. Their dazzling skills and perfect team fights made them the most popular team in the hearts of the fans. As for Team Q, although they lost the first round, they were still very strong. In the end, they entered the group stage with second place in points. After entering the group stage, the teams couldn't be underestimated. Every match had to go through a meticulous pre-match tactical analysis, and they had finally made it to the finals after overcoming obstacles time and time again. Some things were just this coincidental. The team that entered the finals at the same time as them was Team W, 7:30 at night, in a Belgian restaurant. There were only the four of them. Bayonne wasn't there. The competition is the day after tomorrow. Where did Bayonne go at this time? The fatty was eating his steak as he asked this. The other three were surprised. They looked at each other, and there was an indescribable tacit understanding between them. "Based on the looks in your eyes, you already know?" Sacrificing gods raised his brows, clearly a bit surprised. Luo Qingshun looked at Yi Qianhun before finally looking at sacrificing gods. "I'm not too certain. I just typed his name in a Baidu and got some results." "Then why didn't you say anything?" Sacrificing gods looked at Luo Qingshun with a bit of confusion. Properly speaking, this matter had to be said since they weren't playing in an internet cafe competition, but rather a competition. She didn't say anything because Bayonne played well. Yi Qianhun gave her an incomparably gentle look before saying, "If he just wants to start over, we don't have to expose him." At that moment, Luo Qingshun felt a strange warmth fill her heart. There was someone who understood her like this. Even if she didn't say a word, he could completely tell the reason why she was thinking this way. This was a rare and precious tacit understanding. "Yes." She pursed her lips and looked at Priest with a faint smile. Moreover, there are very few statements about this on the internet. I'm not sure if someone is deliberately spreading the news or if it's the truth. F*CK, F*CK, F*CK. Fatty suddenly jumped up and said, "You mean we'll always be enemies?" Before answering this question, I would like to ask the priestess a question. Luo Qingshun looked up at sacrificing gods in front of her. "Do you believe what Feng Wuyu said?" In front of the finals, since Feng Wuyu was willing to pass this news to sacrificing gods, it proved one thing. Feng Wuyu and Bayonne had met before and even knew each other. Yi Qianhun took a sip of his coffee. There was a faint sparkle in his deep eyes as he looked at sacrificing gods. After so many years, would the trust that had long disappeared in the memories still exist? I don't know how much time has passed, and I don't know how long the priest has been struggling in his heart, until he suddenly raised his head and looked at them with a firm gaze. "I believe in her. I've always believed in her. From the past to the present, from the present to the future." He had never really believed that she had left him because of money, because of the so-called honor. After all these years, he had been waiting for an answer. Chapter 1273. Luo Qingshun took a sip of juice and narrowed her eyes. "If you believe her, then there is at least a 70% chance that there is a problem with Bayonne." "What?" Fatty still didn't understand as he looked at the three of them in a daze. "The brain is a good thing." Luo Qingshun gave Fatty a helpless look. Don't you think it's strange that an ADC at the peak of his career wouldn't stay in a team with a bright future and would hide his identity to play support for our team? What's even more terrifying is that Yi Qianhun paused before continuing. His support has definitely been trained. He plays it very well. Then what do we do? Fatty stuttered. The finals are about to begin. This time, the truth was indeed as troublesome as Fatty said. If Baiyong deliberately played them in the finals, then all their hard work would be wasted. After all, in the world of esports, no one would remember who the runner-up was. They would only remember the champion. It's too late for us to find a substitute now. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and tapped her white fingers on the table. We can only hope that the 70% chance is wrong. For the current them, the team hadn't reached the point of having a substitute yet. If Baiyong really gave away his life in the final game, it could only be said that his careful arrangements had been effective. But what Luo Qingshun never thought was that Baiyong didn't deliberately play to make them lose. The truth was, he didn't come at all. An hour before the game, in the lounge. Since it was the final game, the two teams were in separate lounges. Outside the arena, there was a sea of people watching the match. There were even fans holding banners and signboards. This was definitely the most sensational game in S-City this year. The new Dark Horse W versus the veteran Q. But they were about to lose their only support when the game was about to begin. Damn it, that brat wouldn't really not come, right? Fatty appeared to be very restless. He rubbed his sparse hair and paced back and forth in the room. This feeling of waiting was like an important exam was coming, but you didn't bring your admission ticket. You can only place your hopes on the person who will give you the admission ticket. Fatty, can you stop shaking? The priest clenched his fists tightly. Even though he was filled with anger, there was nothing he could do. It could only be said that Forever had put in a lot of effort to become their support. Moreover, his dazzling performance in the previous few matches made some of them doubt his identity, but they never doubted that capturing him would really cause them to betray him. The support who had used Flash of Weakness countless times to save the ADC was actually absent in this match. I'm just anxious. Fatty's entire face was contorted. It was obvious that he was especially anxious. There's no point in being anxious. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes slightly, a faint Guang flickering in her clear eyes. It's impossible for him to come, said Luo Qingshun. Aren't I still holding on to hope? The fatty sighed heavily and said, Then what should we do? For a long time, the entire lounge was silent until Yi Qianhun's cold voice entered everyone's ears. Forfeit. Chapter 1274. Everyone looked at the door. Feng Wuyu had taken off Team Q's uniform and was wearing a large red sweater with a large bow on her chest. Luo Qingshun felt that she was beautiful when she first saw her, but now she felt that her beauty had reached a new level. You're not saying anything. Is it because you don't welcome me? Her lips curled slightly as she revealed a sweet smile. Are you certain? There was a faint glimmer in the priest's deep eyes, which seemed to be full of fragmented memories in the past. She pursed her lips, and there was a bit of mist in her eyes as she looked at him. I want to play with you. From before to now, it seemed like it was impossible for her to join their team. But now, when they needed her the most, she wanted to stand by their side and play a team battle that belonged to them. Is it really all right for you to leave the team like this? Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes as a trace of worry appeared in her eyes. After all, jumping ship in esports wasn't the same as jumping ship in a normal job. There were a lot of contracts, funds, platforms, and all sorts of side issues involved in it. Caesar can leave the team to become Q's ADC. Why can't I? Feng Wuyu's beautiful eyes looked up at them. Relax. It's just a contract. I can still afford it. You don't need to pay. There was a firm voice that sounded. Sacrificing Gods took off his uniform and gave it to her. It's good that you're back. At this moment, the surrounding air seemed to have completely frozen. Feng Wuyu pursed her lips and raised her white hand to take Sacrificing God's jacket. Thank you. When the sound came from a stage, a group of people who loved esports were ready to go. This game would decide if they could stand firm in the provincial tournament It would no longer be the Internet Cafe Championship. It would be a recognized award. They wanted to win. They had to win. When both sides came onto the stage, Team Q's mid laner 6 Sauce tightly clenches fists as he watched Feng Wuyu become their support. Originally, they thought that Caesar, who had concealed his identity and infiltrated the enemy camp, would be able to give them a heavy blow at the critical moment. Unexpectedly, she still chose to stand on the side of the priest. All these years, no matter how well he treated her, she was indifferent. He had never possessed anything before, but at this moment, he felt a feeling called loss. Their supposed support, forever, naturally became the enemy's ADC, Caesar. There was a lot of confusion in the audience. Many spectators simply did not know why there was such a sudden transfer of personnel. Team Q support and Team W support had been completely swapped out. Was this a joke? What's the situation? You must be joking. Aren't the officials going to give us an explanation? This is the weirdest transfer I've ever seen. As far as I know, Little Dance was originally Team W support, and Caesar was originally Team Q's ADC. Don't tell me they're spies sent to each other's sides. F***CK. Xiao Wu and Priestess were originally a couple. Although they didn't admit it before, there was quite a bit of sugar thrown around. The host's voice sounded on stage. His expression was a bit awkward, but he still gave a general explanation. Chapter 1275. Actually, the organizers had allowed Team Q to change their ADC, but they never thought that Team W would ask them to change their support at the same time. Right now, the organizers had already agreed to Team Q. If they rejected Team W at this time, wouldn't it be a shady deal? Caesar glanced at them casually. There was no emotion in his eyes. It seemed like he had been eavesdropping on their team from beginning to end. He didn't have any feelings for their team members at all. When Luo Qingshan sat in the center, she suddenly felt a bit excited. This stage was the highest stage for them, and as long as they could defeat Q on this stage, countless people would remember their names. That bright red that came from China. 5 minutes later, the game entered the BP stage. Team Q clearly understood them very well. The band heroes were the heroes that she and Yi Qianhun were good at playing. Not a single one was missing. Team Q's support was a rather unfamiliar person, and their ADC was Caesar. The original Yu Yulin had obviously been replaced temporarily. After all, Caesar was the core of Team Q from the start. Qingchen, what do you want to take? Sacrificing Gods slightly knit his brows as he said into his headphones, pick a mid-lane hero first and try to gain an advantage. After all, Caesar already knows God Qian's strategy very well for the bottom lane. That was right. Team Q's ADC Caesar had endured the humiliation of playing for their team for so long. So naturally, he knew their strategy. Especially the ADC. No one cares. Yi Qianhun's gentle voice sounded in her headphones. He seemed to be trying to ease Luo Qingchen's nervousness as he said, pick what you're good at. I'll keep up with you when necessary. It had to be said, Yi Qianhun's words were a heart-saving pill for her. After all, she was indeed a bit nervous. Or it could be said that she was excited, and nervous. In the end, Luo Qingchen took a support mid-laner named Rock Sparrow. Rock Sparrow's ULT had the effect of sealing off a path. Not only could it separate the front and back, it could also quickly provide support. Luo Qingchen didn't have a deep understanding of this hero. She could only say that it was a very operational hero. The difficulty of operating it was quite high, but as long as she could win, there was no hero that she could not be. Yi Qianhun was as steady as Mount Tai, choosing Dawn as his hero. Feng Wuyu chose the Phoenix Girl song that she played in the group stage before, and Sacrificing Gods chose the Pig Girl song that started off strong. The top laner Fatty played Rambo. For this match, their lineup leaned towards the mid and early stages, but it was not the kind of lineup that could not play in the late stages. Come on, come on, come on. Sacrificing Gods cheered 3 times in the voice chat. It seemed that he really wanted to win this competition more than any of them. In the early game, their rhythm was very good. Although Luo Qingchen's Rock Sparrow wasn't her life hero, she still relied on her lane advantage to quickly QWER when the enemy's positioning wasn't good and directly took him down. First Blood the first drop of blood. Luo Qingqian's lips unconsciously curled into a confident smile as the sound effect of first blood played in the game. In less than 20 minutes, they had already taken control of the game. Chapter 1276. Luo Qingqian had a smooth journey, taking down Quadra in a small team fight. Kill. 4 consecutive kills. Prepare for the dragon fight. There were shouts from her teammates that came from the mic. Nice. Beautiful. The mid lane, killing god, really lives up to her name. My Qingqian is so powerful. The final words came from Yi Qianhan. His short words made her lips unconsciously curl. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. In every game, the two of them were always able to stand in a relatively safe position and deal tons of damage to each other. Of course, there were times when she or he was instantly killed by the other side's CC, but the other one would always come out and deal damage to the one who died. It was probably because of this that they had an absolute tacit understanding in the game. Cook. She cleared her throat and her lips curled into a beautiful curve. We will definitely stand at the peak. As soon as her voice fell, her lips that were curled up instantly froze. She was walking in the direction of DeLong when the game screen suddenly stopped moving. She could still hear everyone's voices, but her character in the game didn't move. I think I'm stuck. Luo Qingqian knit her brows and wanted to reach out, but the referee, standing not far away, didn't seem to see her position. In just a short 10 seconds, she was killed by the ADC on the spot. Qingqian, what's going on? Sacrificing God's voice was a bit anxious since she was standing there without moving and was killed by the other side. No, I'm offline. She tightly knit her brows and chose to reconnect. At this time, Yi Qianhan also disconnected. Normally speaking, if one side disconnected in the finals, the game would be paused. But this time, when she was killed, the organizers didn't plan on pausing the game at all. When she reconnected, the other side had already taken the dragon. At this time, Yi Qianhan wasn't moving at all as he was killed by the other side's ADC. They who had the advantage had become the disadvantaged side. Damn, what is the meaning of this? Fatty couldn't help cursing while killing troops. We're all offline and we're still fighting. Team Q's top laner, 30,000, is the sponsor of the organizers. Feng Wuyu put herself in a relatively safe position to clear a wave of troops. I have a bad feeling. It's not a feeling, it's a fact. When Yi Qianhan connected again, their advantage from before no longer existed. It was like the economy had been washed and everyone had the same equipment. There wasn't a difference. The whispers in the audience gradually increased. Of course, everyone was just guessing. Did God Qianxian and God Qingqian go offline just now? I think so too. They didn't move at all when the two waves died. That's right. They didn't even use their skills. But if he disconnected, why didn't he pause the match? Could it be that he was purposely going easy on him? MD, purposely? How many benefits they received? Chapter 1277. I have teleport. I'll take the bottom lane. You put pressure on the middle lane. Luo Qingqian slightly knit her brows as she quickly typed on the mouse and keyboard. She said to them, their overall strength can't compare to ours. We can still fight. If it was the difference in strength that made them unable to take the championship, she could accept it. But if it was the fluctuations that made them lose the game, she really wasn't willing. All right. Feng Wuyu quickly came over to help her look around as she said, be careful. If there's someone carrying you, head straight to where the little dragon is. Got it. Luo Qingqian could be considered one of the better mid laners at this point. However, when she pushed the bottom lane's second tower, the game interface stopped moving. This time it wasn't just her who stopped moving. Everyone's interface stopped moving. What is this situation? The fatty angrily roared out as he forcefully clicked the mouse. However, even at this point, the referee didn't call for a stop. It seems like their preparations this time are very good. Yi Qianhan gave a cold snort as a dark look appeared in his eyes. In order to win the provincial tournament, Team Q didn't hesitate to have Caesar infiltrate their team as a spy, but he changed his mind in the end. But because of Feng Wuyu, they didn't fall as they played brilliantly on stage. They never thought that they would use an even more despicable method. You mean that the fluctuations in our network are their methods? At this moment, the priestess's face was as cold as ice. It was as if a pair of sharp eyes could kill anyone in this place. It's not that there isn't this possibility. Feng Wuyu worked hard to connect, as she said. Although the provincial tournament is more formal than the Internet Cafe tournament, it's still lacking compared to the LPL tournament. Although she didn't expect Team Q to have the ability to influence their network, the sponsor this time was indeed inseparable from them. What was a sponsor? It was money spent, bonuses, funds for appearances, etc. After a minute, when they connected back to the game, the other side had already withdrawn their base. They were clearly in the lead, but they could only watch as their base was withdrawn. Really, there was an inexplicable feeling of sadness. At this moment, there was a wave of sighs from below the stage. When the game reached the end, the broadcast of the provincial tournament had already stopped. The host's expression was a bit awkward, but he still had to act. He slowly picked up the microphone, and his lips curled as he said, "It really was a satisfying game. Let's congratulate Team Q for winning this year's S Province Championship. This competition in City S has also attracted many esports enthusiasts to come and watch the competition. Thank you for accompanying esports all the way. Next, let us invite F*CK. How shameless can you be?" Before the host could finish, mineral water bottles were thrown at Team Q. If they didn't understand what was going on during the first disconnect, then anyone with a brain would know what was going on during the last few minutes of the collective disconnect. This time, Team Q could be said to have won the competition, but they had lost the hearts of the people. Is the provincial tournament? Another more agitated audience member stood up and lashed out. How F*King shameless. How can you call yourself an audience? The provincial champion owes W an apology. Right? I owe W an apology. Apologize to W? How shameless. Chapter 1278. The audience was very excited since the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. But if Team Q used this method to become the king, it would be an insult to esports. The host's face was very awkward. Although there weren't many people in the audience, this matter really was too ugly. Even if the live broadcast was stopped, there was no wall that didn't have a crack in this world. At this time, Team Q's Sick Sauce took the microphone from the table and said to the audience, "I remember someone saying that esports relies on strength. What? You can't afford to lose now? Shameless." There was a roar that came from under the stage. Then there was an even louder voice, "Apologize." Luo Qingshun looked at the large failure word on the screen and narrowed her eyes. She slowly picked up the microphone from the table and said, "They used their skills to cut off our cable. Why should they apologize?" As soon as her voice fell, she walked off the stage without looking back. They were unwilling, but they were helpless. Faced with this kind of plan, they could only accept it and had no other choice. Their words only made them feel a bit better, but the championship didn't matter to them at all. On the way back in the van, no one said a word. It wasn't because they were sad, but rather because they refused to accept it. It could even be said that they were very angry. This kind of championship, we don't care about it. The first person to speak was the fatty. Luo Qingshun thought that the fatty would charge forward and knock down everyone on stage, but he didn't do this. He was calm from beginning to end, making her feel that the fatty was a completely different person. The fatty is right. Yi Qianhun looked up and his eyes fell onto her as he softly said, "But I feel a bit helpless because I didn't give you the championship." He wanted to stand on the highest stage with her to lift the championship trophy. He even wanted to tell everyone that she was the most powerful mid laner he had ever met. "I feel that the one we should let down is Xiao Wu." Luo Qingqin looked at her and said, "Do you regret it?" When she asked this question, the one who looked at Feng Wuyu was sacrificing gods. He had originally wanted to bring her to the highest stage, but it seemed that not only had he failed to do so, he had even become her stumbling block. If she was still in Team Q, if she didn't come to W, perhaps at this very moment, she would be the one standing in the middle of the stage and lifting the trophy. "I've never regretted it." Her answer was very firm. Her beautiful eyes twinkled slightly as if they could speak. She looked at him and said, no matter if it was in the past or now. She had never regretted anything that she had done. Since no one regrets it, since everyone disdains that trophy. Luo Qingshan bit her lip and looked at Yi Qianhun. How about we set a higher goal this year? When Luo Qingchen's voice fell, everyone was a bit surprised. If one wanted to talk about the highest stage of esports, it wasn't an internet cafe, nor was it a provincial tournament. Instead, it was the LPL Pro League. No one present had expected Luo Qingshan to say such a thing. However, for Luo Qingshan, she felt that they had the strength to attempt to reach such heights. Chapter 1279. When they returned to the base that night, the fatty first turned on his computer and went to the forums to look at the posts. As expected, there was no wall that didn't have a crack in this world, not to mention such a large provincial tournament. If you don't want people to know, don't do it. One of the most popular posts was the last sentence she had said on the stage at that time. Mid-lane, killing God. Using your skills to cut the internet connection, 666 sponsors. Most of the comments were attacking Team Q for being sinister, not pausing the internet connection at the provincial tournament. Cute little mosquito. Hee hee hee. Too funny. Not pausing the internet connection? Double-sided mirror. Isn't this a bit too much? This kind of provincial tournament really is a loss of face for League of Legends. Little leaf on the ceiling. Although it's not a sofa. But I still have to say, our W doesn't need this kind of championship. Team Q's little fan. I think it's funny, the winner is king. Alright? If W loses, can those fans make up this kind of thing? Not dreaming during the day. Team Q's little fan, this little sister, I suggest that you go see an ophthalmologist before scolding people, alright? Rose Petal, you have to see an ophthalmologist? Can't you see such an obvious disconnect? Team Q's little fan, I can't see it. The fans of both sides kept arguing under this post. Of course, Team Q's fans couldn't stop scolding them. After all, justice was in people's hearts. Using such a despicable method to win the game, they had to be afraid that the public would push them to the forefront. On the other side, Yi Qianhun was looking at how to form an LPL team. To become an LPL team, they had to play an esports competition first. The esports competition was called the LSBL. As long as they won the LSBL championship, they would be qualified to become an LPL team. The thing that couldn't be avoided was sponsorships. A team had to have money to operate. There was nothing wrong with this kind of thing, but sponsorships really are expensive. Feng Wuyu curled her lips as she looked over the web. It feels like it's several million. I can't afford it. You don't need to worry about sponsorships. Sacrificing Gods waved his hand. What we need to do now is prepare for the LSBL in the next few years. Don't need to worry. Feng Wuyu's eyes trembled as she said, it can't be that you won the lottery, right? In Feng Wuyu's subconscious, Sacrificing Gods had always been a poor kid. It was impossible for them to have the money to get sponsorships. Little did they know, priests don't need to win the lottery at all. The fat man chuckled and said, he is a rich second generation. As soon as his voice fell, Feng Wuyu's expression became a bit ugly. The priest seemed to have noticed her awkwardness. He narrowed his eyes and asked, if you knew, would you have left back then? Everyone fell silent when they heard this question. After all, regardless of whether the answer was yes or no, it was enough to make people hold their breaths. If Feng Wuyu said yes, it meant that she never loved sacrificing gods. If she answered no, it would prove that she was a greedy person. At that time, because the priest was poor, because W was poor, she chose to leave. This question had no answer from the beginning, but Feng Wuyu gave sacrificing gods an answer without any hesitation. I won't. She nodded slightly. Her eyes were as calm as water, without a single ripple. Chapter 1280. There was no need to mention what happened in the past, because she never doubted her choice. As long as sacrificing gods could complete his dream, he wouldn't let his dream stop because of money. Then everything she did would be worth it. Everyone in Team W thought that her signing fee for Team Q would be very high, several $100,000, several million. When she heard this, she always revealed a faint smile and silently swallowed the bitterness into her stomach. Actually, her signing fee for Team Q was $100,000. She left all of her signing money to sacrificing gods, hoping that they could continue to persevere in their dreams and continue to play the esport profession and continue to play it. Later on, she inadvertently heard that the club they established was going smoothly and had won many Internet Cafe League championships. She couldn't help feeling gratified since she thought that her 100,000 had played an important role. Actually, this flower cost more than just 100,000. Feng Wuyu would never know that her 100,000 had already been thrown into the river by sacrificing gods. In this silent night, no one wanted to sleep. Everyone's mind was filled with the scene of the competition. To them, they were like little trains filled with coal. They couldn't stop for a second. Half a month later, they received their first sponsorship, which came from a certain brand of mouse. When they successfully signed up for the LSBL, they found that Team Q had also signed up. Damn, enemies really don't meet, the fatty angrily said. How could such a weak team appear in such a professional competition? If they want to cause trouble in the LSBL, they really are thinking too much. After all, this was a national-level competition. It wasn't something that one or two sponsors could influence. Team Q could enter the LSBL because they won the provincial tournament. Let me see the video below. Luo Qingchun pointed at the small button on the computer screen. Let's see their interview. The video was a group photo of the 5 members of Team Q, but it was the voice of the host and their mid-laner Six Sauce. Host, your performance in the provincial tournament has always been good. Whether it is the qualifiers or the group stage, you have always been the most stable team. What do you think is your advantage? Six Sauce picked up the microphone and chuckled. I think that all 5 of us are very strong. Regardless of whether it's in the front line or in the team battle, we've done very well. Host, how do you feel after winning the competition and becoming the champion? Caesar took the microphone and continued. I'm in a good mood. The main thing was that it was easy to win because we were very strong, so the provincial competition didn't put much pressure on us. Host, looks like you guys are really amazing. Cheering for you guys. Next question. Many esports fans compare you to Team W, who performed equally well in the provincial competition. Do you think there's a gap between you and them? In the next second, Six Sauce picked up the microphone and said to the camera with a confident smile, I think there's a gap in strength between us. After all, from the results, it's obvious that they're no match for us. Host, haha, looks like you guys are very confident. Last question, do you have any thoughts about them entering the LSBL League this time? Chapter 1281. Damn. The fatty cursed on the side as he angrily said, that Six Sauce really is too much. Can't he spit out ivory from a ghost's mouth? He's bragging to the heavens. The winner is king. Luo Qingchun narrowed her cold eyes and said with a soft snort, how could people like them care about an unfair victory? Father just can't stand seeing this kind of face. The fatty angrily threw down his phone before looking at Xiao Wu and saying, little sister, how could you like this kind of person? The fatty was impulsive, so when he said this, everyone was stunned. Sacrificing God's expression was very ugly, and there was an awkward atmosphere in the air. But Feng Wuyu tilted her head and said, when did I like him? You didn't. Sacrificing Gods turned back in surprise and looked at her as he asked, you weren't with him? Who told you that I was with him? He said, you believe what he said? Feng Wuyu pursed her lips and said with a bit of pride, you're the sacrificing gods in the hearts of fans. It seems like that Six Sauce really only knows how to talk. The fatty rolled up his sleeves and said, watch how we beat them up this time. The LSBL competition was tighter than they had imagined. Because of the time problem, the first game would be held in 3 days. Luo Qingchun's group came to D-City ahead of time to prepare for the next round. Team Q had been very active on the internet during this time, drawing in quite a few fans. They had also filmed some MVs and commercials, often appearing on the big screens. Luo Qingchun's group spent most of their time training in the hotel. After all, the champion of this competition would not only receive a ticket to the LPL, they would also be able to enter IPL 5 and step onto the world stage. At this moment, they only had one thought. The night before the competition, when Luo Qingchun was about to go to bed, she received a text from Yi Qianhun. If we win, I'll take you somewhere. Yi Qianhun. This was the first time he had sent her a private message. The first message from Yi Qianhun made her feel a bit excited. There were many times when it was hard for her to truly understand what kind of person he was. She always felt that whether it was going with the wind or against the wind, he was a powerful calming pill. As long as he was here, there was hope in the later stages of every game. He was invincible on stage, being called the best ADC in the country. But in real life, he had a bit of his cold personality. When the favorability appeared again and again, she couldn't help but wonder if the other party knew that she was a girl, or if the other party only had a good impression of her technical skills. Perhaps it was time to find a time to talk about this matter. Good. Luo Qingchen. They didn't know why, but they felt that the night sky was especially bright. It was as if the light of victory was heading towards them. The next morning, everyone arrived at the competition venue early in the morning. Team W's first opponent was AG, which was Tang Yuyu's team. The girl who wanted to play mid-laner in the provincial tournament was also among them. This team was very popular. Not to mention the fact that they had a girl, the other reason was that they liked the reply from the Black Tech team. Chapter 1282. Their tactics really aren't bad. Sacrificing Gods said after watching several videos of their games, the jungler almost always lives in the bottom lane, giving the bottom lane an advantage. Then you can come to the bottom lane more. Feng Wuyu pursed her lips into a faint smile. Protect God Qian. You'll definitely win the team battle. Help the mid lane more. Yi Qianhun's cool voice came from the headset. The other side is clearly targeting the mid lane. Luo Qingchen's eyes trembled. Naturally, she knew that the other side was targeting her. In the end, she picked up a trickster enchantress and prepared to roam around as support. After all, a mid laner with displacement wasn't afraid of being targeted. Luo Qingchen wanted to coordinate with the jungler to give Yi Qianhun an advantage. There wasn't a live broadcast during the qualifiers, so Team Q was filled with sighs from the crowd. Yo, a loser can actually enter the LSBL. What happened to the esports powers? Six Sauce's voice was very loud, but it didn't affect them at all since they were wearing headsets. This game wasn't difficult. Although AG liked to use black technology, they didn't have a good understanding of team battles, so as long as they fought, the other side would lose all their advantages. When the game reached 30 minutes, Luo Qingchen's beautiful play directly became legendary. The other side couldn't stop their offense. They could only give up their base. Team Q's ADC Caesar couldn't help knitting his brows as he muttered, "They're still very strong." "Caesar, don't boost their morale." Six Sauce rolled his eyes at him. "We haven't even fought yet. What are you afraid of?" Six Sauce clearly couldn't stand hearing people say that Team W was strong, since in his eyes, he was confident in crushing them. Hee hee. Caesar gave a cold laugh. "When did you crush Qingchen in the mid lane?" After all, he had been a support for Team W for a while, although they were in a life-and-death situation now. But when he was still in Team W, naturally he could understand their strategy. To put it bluntly, with Team Q's current strength, it was impossible for them to beat them. Hey, this is a team game," Six Sauce said in a dissatisfied voice. "What does me being crushed have to do with me? It's the jungler's problem." Team Q's jungler rolled his eyes at him. "This is my first time hearing a mid laner say something this shameless." "You, stop arguing." Yu Lin tightly knit his brows as he looked at Luo Qingchen on the stage with a cold look. "We might not lose, but there is something you don't know." No, it could be said that even the members of Team W didn't know. But he knew, assessed, however. Yu Lin knew very well that the person on the stage right now was Blazing Fire's former mid laner. Dust floating in the world had always been dust floating in the world. It was just a mess of gender and identity. "What?" Yu Lin raised his eyebrows as his lips curled into a beautiful arc. "It's not a new move, it's an absolute big move. If this big move was used properly, Team W would face an unprecedented threat." Chapter 1283. After beating AG, there were many popular posts that appeared on the forums. One of them was, "Never came when you were at your peak, and never left when you were at your lowest." To everyone on Team W, it was written by a small fan. Luo Qingchen was very moved after reading it. After all, even if they weren't fighting for themselves, they had to fight for the fans that supported them. On this lazy afternoon, without any games, everyone began to do their own things. Sacrificing gods seriously watched the matches between Team Q and the other teams. Feng Wuyu was by his side, quietly analyzing in her notebook. They didn't explain what happened before. In sacrificing God's heart, as long as Feng Wuyu came back, he could forgive her. He had always wanted to stand at a height that belonged to him. He wanted to prove to her that W was the strongest team. Yi Qianhun knitted his brows when he saw a post. The one who posted it was the substitute ADC of Team Q. In other words, it was Yi Yulin, V-certified, Team Q mid laner. This was a very popular post from Jade Tree, Facing the Wind. The title was Team W That You Don't Know About. The post was very short. There were only a few lines. Do you want to know? It's related to W's current most popular mid laner. Please look forward to it. With just these few words, it attracted many fans and onlookers to gather around. God, what is this thing? The girl I chased over the years. It can't be that Team Q is trying to sow discord, right? Cold. I don't care. Whoever says that my great god, Chun, isn't good, will fight in person. That cloud. I really am drunk on this Jade Tree, Facing the Wind, going from Blazing Flame to Team Q's substitute. His skills are decent, but his character really isn't worth complimenting. White Dandelion, +1 above. Just him and that beautiful girl from a while ago. Oh my god. The cancer of esports. Everyone was happily discussing this. Yi Qianhun scrolled down, and his brows knit even tighter. When Luo Qingshun got up to pour coffee, she saw that Yi Qianhun's page was on this post. She slowly came forward, and her little hand accidentally touched Yi Qianhun's cold fingertips. He was slightly taken aback and wanted to say something. However, she was interrupted by her lazy tone. The enemy is right in front of us. What are you looking at? This is your gossip. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. Seeing how relaxed she was, his brows gradually relaxed. We can't stop what he wants to say. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, the most important thing now is to win the game. The disconnection from the provincial competition was still vivid in their minds. This time, the finalists were also them and Team Q. It was being broadcasted live on the official website, and a large number of fans were present. This was a match for glory, and they couldn't afford to lose. If they failed again, they would be letting down the fans who had supported them all this time. Don't worry. With Team Q's current state, they're definitely no match for Master Fatty. Fatty didn't forget to say as he killed people in the game, I want them to spit out all the *T they're bragging about in the finals. On the day of the finals, it started to snow. The weather was very cold. When he sat on the arena, his fingertips were a little stiff. Chapter 1284. Luo Qingshun was surprised as she said, the best ADC in the world. Can you carry me? Although there was a bit of mutual praise, it made the atmosphere of the game much more relaxed. The LSBL was a game with absolute value. The winner of this game could not only enter the LPL, they could also enter IPL 5. Before the game, the host played the interview between the two sides. The first was Six Sauce's video. The question in the video was, what do you think about meeting Team W again in the finals? He gave a smile of disdain, but because of the camera, he just gave a shrug. I can only say that their luck is good. After that, the video turned to Team W's Yi Qianhun, and the fans shouted, God Qian, God Qian, God Qian. The question was the same. What do you think about meeting Team Q again in the finals? Yi Qianhun just softly said, in esports, strength speaks. These short words once again caused an uproar below the stage. The game was a best of five. In the first 2 rounds, Team W had crushed them with absolute dominance. The mid laner Six Sauce didn't even dare defend his tower. He could only give it to her. Even when he gave up his tower, Luo Qingshun kept soloing him. Six Sauce's face was very ugly on the field. Although he had been lacking training because of the commercials, he never thought that he would be crushed by Luo Qingshun like this. After 2 games, Yu Lin told the coach to let him go on since he had an absolute trump card. The coach hesitated a bit before agreeing in the end. In the 3rd game, Caesar was brought off and Yu Lin came on. What is the meaning of their life and death game changing to that jade tree facing the wind. Fatty said with a confused look, although Caesar isn't that good, that jade tree is even worse, all right? Yi Qian-hun couldn't help knitting his brows as the post about Luo Qingchun appeared in his mind. His eyes habitually looked in Luo Qingchun's direction. She did slightly knit her brows, looking a bit unsettled. In fact, Luo Qingchun was indeed a little uneasy. Her uneasiness was not because of herself, but because of her teammates who were fighting with her on the stage at this very moment. If Yulin said something he shouldn't say, she was afraid that it would affect her teammates' performance. This competition was so important to them, and if she was exposed for cheating at this time, it would be a huge blow to them. Although she had no choice but to disguise herself as a woman and enter Team W, a lie was a lie. It was only natural that they wouldn't forgive her. The third round began quickly. Luo Qingchun won Annie, a little girl holding a teddy bear hero. Its appearance was very cute, and after level 6, its damage was also very strong. Come on, Fatty roared into the earpiece. Let's get the trophy that belongs to us. As soon as he finished speaking, Yulin said something in the game chat, something that could shake their morale at this moment. All jade tree facing the wind. I don't think you guys know who your mid laner is. Wow. The audience burst into an uproar when they saw this sentence. The smell of gunpowder spread in the air. Chapter 1285. All jade tree facing the wind. Don't you know that your mid laner isn't a man at all? As soon as Yulin finished his sentence, the audience in the arena instantly boiled with excitement. Almost at this moment, all the gossipy public opinion came crashing down on them. Damn, it can't be that jade tree facing the wind means that great god Qingchun is a girl, right? Actually, I always felt that great god Qingchun looked very delicate. What does that mean, a girl? What a joke. If W's mid laner is a girl, wouldn't Team W's own people know? The funnier thing is, why would jade tree facing the wind know? All jade tree facing the wind. You must be very curious why I know that she is a girl. Because she was once our Blazing Flames mid laner. The other members of Team W. Are you surprised by this news? Yulin's words were filled with ridicule, not giving anyone a chance to breathe at all. There was silence in the voice chat. After all, the ID dust floating in the world was originally Blazing Flames mid laner. With Yulin's words, everything seemed to be able to connect into a logical line. She was stunned for a full 3 seconds. When she was about to open the chat to say something, Yi Qian-hun was a step faster than her. All half-world held soul. When did we say that she was a boy? Just this one sentence made Luo Qingchun's hand holding the mouse unconsciously tremble. After that, there was Fatty's words in everyone's channel. All, invincible Fatty. Are you a fool? Are you jealous of how many girls we have? All Death God's priest. He's not jealous of how many girls we have, but of how many girls they have. All dance, 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 dance. I don't care, I don't care. Great God Qingchun is the most handsome little fairy. Huh. It was as if everyone had made up their minds at this moment, choosing to stand on her side without asking for any reason. You all. Luo Qingchun was a bit choked up. She wanted to say something, but it was like something was stuck in her throat, and she couldn't say a single word. Focus on the last hit. Yi Qian-hun's gentle as water voice slowly came out. At this moment, it calmed her heart. I'm very sorry, mid-lane slaying god, you carry this round. Feng Wu, you cut her off at the same time. After all, the ADC in the bottom lane has missed at least 10 attacks. The fatty laughed and said, Qingchun, it seems like God Qian is more nervous than you. Yes. There was a sparkle in Yi Qian-hun's starry eyes as he said with a faint smile, I'm more nervous than her. This was probably the first time he felt nervous in a competition. In fact, he already knew that she was a girl. But since she didn't mention it, he had never worn it. And at this very moment, when she was pushed to the teeth of the storm, as someone who had been standing behind her silently to protect her, he felt even more nervous than she did. I say, God Qianxin, if you leave out any more troops, we'll lose this round. Feng Wuyu said in a pretentious voice, It'll be 20 minutes soon. You have to give us a team fight that we can't lose. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingshun came out from the middle lane. She looked at Yu Lin, who was very close to the front and had been holding the minions. Luo Qingshun flashed forward without another word and killed him with a set of RQWE. There was a bit of anger in this aura, as well as absolute punishment for a villain. Chapter 1286. The enemy's Yu Lin was clearly a bit anxious since this was his last big move. If it didn't work, they wouldn't be able to win the finals. All Jade Tree facing the wind. You can lie to yourselves, but is it good for you to lie to your fans like this? Luo Qingshun's hand holding the mouse suddenly trembled. After 5 seconds of silence, there was a clear voice that came from AG's Tang Yu. When did great God Qingshun say that she was a man? Who do you think you are to lie to her? In this situation where she was about to become the target of public criticism, this clear and melodious voice was like a clear spring that watered her restless heart. Finish her off properly. Yi Qianhun's warm voice came from her headphones. Leave the rest to me. This sentence didn't just mean the game, it also meant everything in real life. She softly replied before entering a highly focused state. Since the opponent wasn't strong, she had no reason to lose any kills. In a mid-team battle, Luo Qingshun led the bottom lane while the other 3 gathered around the main lane. Come over, God Qian, we'll fight the main lane. Sacrificing gods looked at Luo Qingshun's position. Qingshun has already been taken. You don't need to go over. The 5 people on the enemy side knew that the other side was going to fight the main lane. Faced with such a bad situation, they had to kill Luo Qingshun, who had the highest kill count, in exchange for a chance to breathe. I can't leave. I'll try to switch to another one. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes as she approached the bushes while heading towards the tower. There were 2 people in front of her and 3 behind her. She was playing a mid laner who didn't have any movement skills, but she still had a flash in her hand. If she could kill an important enemy mid laner or ADC, it wouldn't be a loss for the team, even if she died. But she never thought that Yi Qianhun wasn't heading towards the main lane at all, but rather heading towards her. Qianshun, the priest called out to him anxiously. Play well, you talk too much. Feng Wuyu knew what Yi Qianhun wanted to do without saying a word since this was the finals. No matter what he did, as long as he didn't have any regrets. Luo Qingshun saw Yi Qianhun walking towards her. She bit her lip and softly said, I'll control the ADC. You reap the damage. All right. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 enemies surrounded him. Luo Qingshun blinked and appeared in front of the ADC from the other side of the bush. She used her skill to firmly control the 2C positions and then used EQW to finish off the ADC. Yi Qianhun came forward to kill the mid laner with normal attacks and Q, but there were only 5 of them. Luo Qingshun killed the enemy jungler with a sliver of HP, but she was also killed by him. Yi Qianhun finally entered a 1v2. When he killed one of the top laners, he used extreme movement to dodge a CC skill while also swapping out their support. This double C limit 2v5 caused waves of screams and cheers from the audience. At that moment, even Luo Qingshun revealed a sweet smile. This kind of extreme killing was very strange, and what was even more strange was that there was an ADC beside her who wanted to kill her. The moment he turned his eyes, he happened to see her faint smile, which tugged at his heartstrings. Chapter 1287. God Qian, God Qian, God Qian. WWW. The moment they destroyed the enemy's base, the audience all stood up and cheered and applauded them. She took a deep breath and slowly picked up the microphone on the table to say to everyone, Thank you for everyone's support. It has nothing to do with status. I will do my best to win a championship for China on the world stage. Oh, pop, pop, pop. A wave of applause and cheers rang in her ears, and the excitement in her heart could not be calmed down for a long time. When she looked at Yu Lin again, there was an indescribable, complicated emotion in her eyes. It could be said that he was desolate. After all, he had used so many despicable methods to reach this position. He had already gone against his original love for esports. Since he loved this game, he shouldn't use any methods to insult it. After the game was over, they took the bus back to the hotel. The fatty excitedly muttered on the side for a long time before finally changing the topic to Luo Qingshun. Qingshun, you're too immoral. You're clearly a girl. Why are you pretending to be a boy? You can't blame her. There was a gentle voice that entered their ears. Yi Qianhun looked up and narrowed his eyes. It's because of the recruitment conditions. Oh, the fatty suddenly understood. I remember now. Our recruitment condition was that we didn't want girls. Like this, it was very reasonable for Luo Qingshun to dress up as a boy to join Team W. Why don't you want girls? Feng Wuyu on the side looked over and said in a confused voice, girls are also very powerful, all right. She hated people who looked down on girls the most. Esports didn't differentiate between men and women. Talent was something you had and not had. Because girls are easy to betray. The priest gently touched her nose and said, so at that time, Qian Shun and I agreed that the people we were going to recruit next shouldn't be girls. Otherwise what? She shyly rubbed her nose as she revealed a faint smile. Messing with people's hearts. Sacrificing gods didn't forget to look in Yi Qianhun's direction after saying this, as a faint Guang flashed in his eyes. Nonsense. Feng Wuyu pursed her lips before looking at Luo Qingshun. Qingshun, come with me to the Starlight Internet Cafe's anniversary celebration tonight. Anniversary celebration? Luo Qingshun raised her eyes slightly and asked in confusion, do you know it? Starlight Internet Cafe. Priest showed a thoughtful expression and continued. Is it the Internet Cafe opened by your cousin's husband? Cousin's husband? Feng Wuyu said with a soft laugh. It sounds strange, but it's actually my cousin's husband's internet cafe. Haven't you always been at odds with your cousin? That's why I'm going. Feng Wuyu said with an angry look. Doesn't my cousin only know how to taunt me that I don't have friends, that I'm only accompanied by my computer? Actually, Feng Wuyu wanted to quit since she didn't have any friends. She had spent half her life playing games, and after League of Legends came out, she spent all her time on it other than eating and sleeping. When the girls were shopping, she was playing ranked. When the girls were singing karaoke, when the girls were dating, she was playing ranked with her boyfriend. Then she didn't have a boyfriend, so she played ranked by herself. Chapter 1288. Sacrificing gods heard this and looked over Luo Qingshun before saying with slightly knit brows, but Qingshun doesn't look like a girl. Who said that? Feng Wuyu saw the princess store outside the window and said, stop the car, stop the car. Luo Qingshun was a bit surprised. She wanted to say something, but Feng Wuyu had already pulled her out of the car. This was a store with a feminine and fresh style. Most of the clothes were in soft and cute colors. There were also some wigs and accessories. You guys go to the Phoenix restaurant next door? I want to eat hot pot tonight. As soon as her voice fell, Feng Wuyu pulled Luo Qingshun in the direction of the store. The three people in a van looked at each other and smiled helplessly. However, the fatty smile was the most helpless because he didn't forget to say, I won't become an isolated group in the future, right? The princess store, a store filled with dreamy colors. Feng Wuyu helped her choose a few pink and white clothes before having her change in the changing room. The sales assistant awkwardly looked at Luo Qingshun before looking at Feng Wuyu and saying, this handsome brother. Oh. Feng Wuyu came back to her senses and said with a faint smile, she is a young miss. Right. Where is the wig section? Sorry. The sales assistant quickly apologized. This way, please. In the end, Luo Qingshun chose a school-style V-neck sweater with a pink and white coat, as well as a plaid pleated skirt. Her white sweater and black coat were hanging in the changing room, which was definitely a cool color combination. But when she suddenly changed into such soft and adorable clothes, she suddenly felt as if she had entered another dimension. Qingshun, are you done? Feng Wuyu softly knocked on the door. I chose a shoulder-length curly hair for you. See if it fits. Before Feng Wuyu even finished, Luo Qingshun had already come out. Although she still had short hair, with the pink clothes on, she was like a school flower. She had a small oval-shaped face, fair skin, and slightly red lips. The most beautiful thing about her was her pair of crystal-clear eyes. Wah! Feng Wuyu was a bit stunned, and even the sales assistant beside her was stunned. Where is the wig? Luo Qingshun waved her right hand in front of her. What are you in a daze for? This. Here, here. Feng Wuyu quickly gave it to her, not forgetting to say with a smitten look, Qing Chun is super beautiful. She never thought that she would be this cute in female clothes. She didn't look like a mid-lanes killing god at all. After fixing her wig, Feng Wuyu was stunned for 10 seconds before hesitantly saying, if God Qian sees this, he probably won't let you play in IPL 5. Ding! Luo Qingchun wanted to say something, but she was cut off by Feng Wuyu's phone ringing. Her tone wasn't good. It was clear that she didn't want to talk to the other side. My cousin said that the anniversary celebration is already starting, and she wants me to quickly head over. Feng Wuyu pursed her lips and said, she also said that she invited many experts, and they could give me some pointers. Pooh, Luo Qingchun said with a soft laugh. You didn't tell her that you're playing professionally? Chapter 1289. As soon as her voice fell, she slowly turned to the waiter beside her and said, help me wrap up this young miss things. How much is it in total? Hello, it's a total of 12,000. Ah. Feng Wuyu was clearly stunned as she revealed an honest expression. Although a princess was expensive, it shouldn't be this expensive. She didn't have that much money. The next second, just as she was about to call high priest, Luo Qingchun took out a black card from her bag and said, use mine. Anyway, other than buying some men's clothes in the beginning, she didn't use the rest of the money at all. Feng Wuyu looked at her in surprise and said, Qingchun, you're so rich. She awkwardly said, it's not much, it's just enough. I'll return it to you in a few days. Feng Wuyu awkwardly scratched her head. I'm really sorry. Feng Wuyu's words made Luo Qingchun feel it was a bit funny. As expected, girls who played games, well, didn't just have good characters, they were also a bit stubborn. These are clothes you bought from me. What are you embarrassed about? What are you returning to me for? Feng Wuyu blinked several times, as if she felt that Luo Qingchun's words made a bit of sense. Since the Starry Night Internet Cafe was nearby, they quickly sent a text to Qian Hun's group before heading over. From Feng Wuyu's description, Luo Qingchun could guess what kind of person her cousin Chen Huan was. She should be the same kind of person as he Miaoling. This cousin-in-law should have liked Feng Wuyu first. But because Feng Wuyu didn't like him at all, and adding in Chen Huan's soft words when he was disappointed, it finally became their love. This wasn't related to Feng Wuyu at all, but Chen Huan knew that Xiao Kai and Gu Hang liked Feng Wuyu before, so her heart was filled with dissatisfaction. She was taunted from time to time, filling her heart with anger. During this time, she said that not only did she not have a boyfriend, she didn't even have a friend. She looked very pitiful in front of Gu Hang. This year's anniversary celebration also happened to find some people who loved esports. She wanted to make friends with them. But even someone like Luo Qingchun knew that this was a banquet at the Hongmin banquet. As it turned out, she was absolutely right. As soon as he entered the Starry Sky Internet Cafe, he saw two pairs of people fighting fiercely. It had to be said, if the friend Chen Huan wanted to introduce to Feng Wuyu could be described with a single word: ugly. If one were to use a word to describe it, it would be D*MN. Of course, as a good youth of the new generation, especially one who loved esports games, he could not judge a book by its cover. However, from the way these people spoke and behaved, it was obvious that they were definitely not good people. Huan, is this your cousin? One of the Acne men whose screen had turned black stood up and said to Feng Wuyu with a wretched smile, she looks quite cute. In the next second, his gaze turned and landed on Luo Qingchun. His mouth was wide open, and he couldn't help but drool. He stammered, holy shit, you're so beautiful. Luo Qingchun gave a cold laugh. She took out her phone at the same time and sent a text to Yi Qianhan. Chapter 1290. Perhaps sometimes a little seasoning was needed to warm up their relationship. When Chen Huan saw Feng Wuyu, she quickly took Gu Hang's hand and came forward step by step. Cousin, you're finally here. Gu Hang casually looked at Feng Wuyu before reaching out his hand like a gentleman. Long time no see. But he didn't know that his hand would be slapped back by Chen Huan. The atmosphere was very awkward, but when her eyes fell onto Luo Qingchun, she asked in a displeased voice, this is my best friend, Luo Qingchun. Feng Wuyu softly took Luo Qingqin's hand with a proud look in her eyes. After all, the one beside her was a true beauty. Really? Chen Huan sized her up and rubbed her chin. Cousin, don't you like to play League of Legends? Your friends should know how to play it too. She didn't believe that her cousin who was addicted to games all day would have any friends. She wanted to hold this anniversary celebration just to show off her best friend and her husband, who loved her deeply. Huan. Gu Hang seemed to be unable to continue listening and wanted to stop her unreasonable behavior. But she gave a proud snort. You don't need to care. Ahem. Lin Huan cleared her throat and continued. Those on the VIP sofa over there are a few of my best friends. They all know how to play League of Legends. Why don't we have a 2v2? Zez. Luo Qingqin couldn't help feeling a bit of pain for Feng Wuyu. Having this kind of cousin, she really had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Don't you have 2 best friends? Luo Qingqin looked at the sofa on the right and narrowed her eyes. Her lips curled into a faint curve. It's not good to leave one there. As soon as her voice fell, the 2 girls with heavy makeup sitting on the sofa on the right looked over at Luo Qingqin. What do you mean? Lin Huan obviously didn't fully understand Luo Qingqin's meaning. Or it could be said that she understood what she meant, but she didn't quite believe it. Literally, Luo Qingqin shrugged and said with a smile, 2v3, you guys come at me together. You. Lin Huan never thought that such a petite girl would say such words. Since she insisted on bumping into the muzzle of the gun, then he would grant her wish. Anyway, in her impression, Feng Wuyu only knew how to support and wasn't good at dealing damage at all. Hurry up. Otherwise, it won't be us torturing you later. Luo Qingqin glanced at the phone, and the smile in her eyes deepened. Coming right away. Yiqian Hun Feng Wuyu walked beside her and said with a smile, Mid-lane killing god. Don't hold back later. Don't worry. I'll definitely put in more effort than playing LSBL. She smiled faintly, her eyes sparkling. Both sides prepared for the 2v3 and entered the game screen. Lin Huan's expression was that of a winner. After all, both of her friends were diamond rank players in League of Legends. For the male-to-female ratio in this game, there were very few girls in the diamond rank. The 2 of them were definitely excellent, so they were more than enough to deal with this girl who only had looks and no skills. Gu Heng's expression wasn't good standing on the side, feeling that Lin Huan was bullying people too much. Chapter 1291. Since it was a custom mode, there weren't any BPs. Luo Qingqin locked on a tricky enchantress, planning on practicing before the IPL 5 tournament. Qingqin, do you want me to play DPS or support? Feng Wuyu was a bit conflicted since she wasn't good at DPS. If she played DPS, she would be a burden, although playing support could protect her. But it was possible that their DPS wouldn't be enough since there were 3 people on the other side. You can play whatever you want, Luo Qingqin said. I'll protect you for sacrificial god. Feng Wuyu was a bit moved. It was the kind of inexplicable feeling between teammates. The friendship between girls was different from boys. This was her first time feeling this kind of warmth. Then I'll play Annie. All right. After a minute, the game began. The 3 people on the other side chose 2 ADCs and 1 AP. The 2 ADCs were Han Bing and Virus, and the AP was Rise. It had to be said, after all, she was a diamond-ranked female player, so her choice of hero was quite good. But since the 3 of them didn't plan on picking meat, in front of her tricky enchantress, they were definitely brittle. In the first 10 minutes, Luo Qingqin seriously dealt DPS. After all, if she was suppressing them, she had to crush them in terms of stats. For example, she had dealt 90 DPS in 10 minutes, and the other side had dealt less than 90 DPS. To be honest, their basic attacks really were bad. The surrounding men also began to whisper to each other. After all, none of the men present were as good as her in terms of last hits. Damn, this girl is so strong. She's definitely a king. Definitely. Didn't you see the box when you entered the interface? I saw it. I thought that she was deliberately using someone else's account since girls like this all love face. 90 DPS in 10 minutes, I can't do it. There aren't many people who can do this in the pro scene. She's too powerful. Why do I feel that Huan's group is going to be beaten? Why do I feel that this girl's ID is a bit familiar? When Luo Qingshan confirmed that she had 2 sets, she sent a message in all chat. All dust floating in the world. Showtime. After saying this, she used Flash plus QWRE on Lin Huanhuan. The complete suppression of equipment made it so that Lin Huanhuan didn't even have a chance to use Flash before she died to her own tower. At this time, another girl's tease. She used Cleanse Dispel, W, and Magic Shadows with her skill, Magic, to send her home. At the same time, Feng Wuyu also got a solo kill in the bottom lane. In an instant, the situation of the competition became exceptionally clear. Luo Qingshan didn't even need to look at Lin Huanhuan's face to know that she must be exploding with rage. Oh, 66666 S's, S to T's, yes, this to T, S flying, T flying. This was the charm of esports. After taking the first 2 kills, Luo Qingshan relied on her deceits, high damage, and all kinds of tower kills to crush them. In the end, she left their base with a score of 32-0-12. Taking 32 kills in just 30 minutes, it could only be said that the 3 of them would die if they revived. They would die if they revived. Chapter 1292. Pump. Lin Huanhuan angrily slammed the mouse down and angrily looked at Feng Wuyu. Are you interested? She wanted to hold an anniversary celebration to show off her best friend and her boyfriend. But not only did she fail to show off, she felt like she had been slapped in the face. Of course, whether it's interesting or not, you'll know once you see the result. Before Feng Wuyu could finish, she was cut off by an evil, charming voice. Feng Wuyu turned around and saw sacrificing gods walking towards her step by step. The lights in the internet cafe were very bright, and he was like a knight protecting a princess, firmly standing by her side. Aren't you death god sacrificing gods? The Acne man recognized the sacrificing gods and excitedly came forward. Can you give me your autograph? He looked at Gu Hang before taking Feng Wuyu's waist. You'll have to ask my girlfriend about this. Girlfriend? Lin Huanhuan's eyes popped out as she looked at Feng Wuyu in disbelief. What a joke. When did you get a boyfriend? What does it matter to you when she got a boyfriend? Sacrificing gods didn't give her any face at all. Lin Huanhuan was a bit speechless. She wanted to say something, but she found that she had no reason to fight back. Whether it was a best friend or a boyfriend, Feng Wuyu, had them all. Damn, she really wasn't willing. Then the only thing she had to win against Feng Wuyu was her husband Gu Hang. Husband, I'm tired. Let's go home in your BMW. When this was said, Gu Hang, standing on the side, looked very awkward, because he knew about the priestess. They were both in the business circle, the only son of the Su Group's CEO, Su Ji. He was a rich second generation, but he only loved online games. Husband, let's go buy 2 lobsters. I want to eat them. Seeing that Gu Hang didn't say anything, Lin Huanhuan said in a coquettish voice. Don't say it. Gu Hang narrowed his cold eyes, and his face became very ugly. He looked up at sacrificing gods and said, The Su Group's young master coming to my Starlight Internet Cafe's anniversary celebration. It really is an honor. Humph. He snorted lightly, the corners of his mouth forming a beautiful arc as he said, At least you know your place. After all, if Gu Hang didn't please him, he was already planning to call his father. Then, it would be a big problem whether this internet cafe would still be there tomorrow. At this moment, Lin Huanhuan's expression was extremely ugly. No matter how stupid she was, when she heard Gu Hang say such words, she knew that the other party was someone she couldn't afford to offend. Even though she was about to explode from anger, she could only smile like a coward and say, Cousin, you're really convinced, ah? Her best friend is so powerful. Her boyfriend is handsome and rich. Ha ha. She laughed coldly and continued. It's good that you know. Why didn't you wait for us and came first? He gently stroked her head with a doting smile. To think that he had ordered her favorite prawn balls and beef at Phoenix Restaurant. Why is it only you? Feng Wuyu shook her head as she looked around. God, Qian didn't come. I don't know. He said that he was going next door to buy a cup of chocolate for Qingshan. He should be here soon. Ding, affection has increased by 30. Mission completion rate is now 100%. Chapter 1293. When the system notification appeared in her mind, she was certain that Yi Qianhan had seen her. The moment he appeared in the crowd, he attracted everyone's attention. Everyone in the crowd, including all the girls and all the boys. Yi Qianhan raised his slender fingers and gave her the chocolate milk in his hand. Here. Thank you. She looked up slightly. When she was about to say something, she was scared by a boy on the side. Ah, damn. That boy almost jumped up as he said to Luo Qingchen, I remember now, you are dust floating in the world. Damn. Another person instantly searched for the photos of all the members of Team W and stammered, Qian. God, Qian. The two girls who were playing 2v3 with them saw Yi Qianhan and ran over with their notebooks. They said in a shy voice that, God, Qian, can you give me an autograph? Lin Huan, who had an ugly look on her face, became even uglier. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that her face was livid. This. He looked to the side at Luo Qingchen and his slender hand took it. You'll have to ask my girlfriend about this. What? WTF? What the hell is your girlfriend? Everyone looked at Yi Qianhan in disbelief. Even Luo Qingchen looked at him in a daze. Girlfriend. Although she already had 100% affection, when Yi Qianhan said the word girlfriend, there was an inexplicable fear in her heart. She was a bit nervous and a bit shy. Actually, she would never know. When Yi Qianhan saw her in female clothes for the first time, he felt like he had misunderstood her for the rest of his life. This description wasn't appropriate. In other words, he tightly held the hot chocolate in his hand and didn't know what to do. But he clearly knew that the dream of the past had come true. The person he thought he wouldn't have a chance to approach had actually changed into female clothes and stood in front of him. If they didn't declare their sovereignty at this time, wouldn't they be letting others take advantage of the loophole? Oh. A few seconds later, the fatty patted his chest and walked out. Oh, my little heart. Why do I suddenly feel like I've fallen out of love? You can't be like this. The other four looked at each other in dismay, and all of them revealed happy smiles. This was probably the best time for friendship and love. When I met you, I had the whole world. Of course, they also had an obsession that affected all of them, esports. The finals of IPL 5 would be held in Las Vegas. After Fatty heard the news, all his depression was swept away. He changed all his savings into US dollars and planned to go to Las Vegas to gamble. Little did she know that when her enthusiasm was high, the priest poured a basin of cold water on her heart. Do you think the World Championship is that easy? I'm not belittling myself, but the probability of us going to Las Vegas is very low. F***CK. Fatty looked at him in shock and said, Are you serious? We are so weak. It's not that we're weak, it's that other people are strong. Yi Qianhan looked at the list of IPL 5 players, and they were all the best of their country's clubs. Chapter 1294. Their first match was against the strong Team C from North America. This team was a dark horse. The 5 players in the team were very young, but their skills were definitely at the top level. Since it was a world-level competition, although the qualifiers weren't in Las Vegas, they were still in Europe. The night before leaving, she made a decision. Opening the forums, she made a post that belonged to her among the posts that were filled with different opinions. Hello everyone, I am dust floating in the world. The content of the post was very short. There was only a single sentence. No matter my identity, no matter my gender, I will use all my strength to win a championship for China. Team W mid laner dust floating in the world. This was a kind of oath, a kind of momentum, a kind of spirit to fight for the honor of the country. In less than 10 minutes after the post was posted, there were already several hundred comments. Her eyes lit up as her lips curled into a faint smile. You are my beauty. Just for the sake of China's championship, I am a die-hard fan of Great God Qing Chun. Small question. Does Great God Qing Chun have a boyfriend? Ran likes eating sweet potatoes. Dust soul couple. Dew of heaven. +1 to the above post a leaf. Waiting for your triumphant return. Whose savior are you? Loving W really is too good. She turned off her computer with a faint smile. Looking at the slightly lit phone in her hand, her heart filled with warmth. Good night. I'll be flying for several hours tomorrow. I need to sleep. Yi Qianhun, after turning off the lights, it was a dreamless night. It wasn't until the next day, when the plane flew over the blue sky, that she finally reacted. The real battle was about to begin. For this battle, other than the fans who supported them, most of the people who loved League of Legends didn't have any hope for them. This was because China had never won an international championship before. Many of the commentators and LPL players in China believed that IPL 5 was an extremely valuable championship. It was impossible for Team W to win the championship. After all, the opponent was too strong, and it was impossible for them to become the heroes of the apocalypse. It was very hard for them to play against Team C in the qualifiers. Because Team C's top laner was called the #1 top laner in the world, the fatty couldn't breathe at all. After 10 minutes, the high ground was taken by the other side. Everyone comforted each other in voice chat, saying it's fine, and we still have a chance. Those words of encouragement calmed Fatty down. He used all of his strength to seriously develop the last hit and finally stabilize the situation. In the end, the match lasted for an entire 50 minutes. When Team W destroyed the enemy base, Fatty wept on the spot. This was his first time standing on the world stage. He truly felt the strength of the other party and his own inadequacy. If it wasn't for the high damage from Yi Qianhun and Luo Qingshun, they would have been the first team to be eliminated in IPL 5. However, Team W's successful promotion caused a stir in the country. The players who had never held any hope for China's esports felt their hearts ignite at this moment. They desperately shouted in front of the computer, "Come on, come on, come on." The 5 of them carried the dreams of all the players who were dreaming of esports. It was as if he had overcome all obstacles and arrived at the scene of the finals. America, Las Vegas. Even though he was in a foreign country, he had to work hard to make progress in order to give China a world championship. Chapter 1295. On the night before the finals, the 5 of them were discussing tactics in their hotel room. This feeling was like the eve of an exam. It was filled with nervousness and anticipation. Damn, I'm a bit panicked. When Fatty drank his 5th bottle of cola, he looked at them and said, "I won't flash into the wall tomorrow, right? No, I feel that there's a high chance that I'll miss. No, I have to watch the other team's video again. It's no use cramming at the last minute." Luo Qingshun said with a soft laugh. "Looking at the situation now, it doesn't matter if we watch one more video or one less video. It's like reading one more test paper or one less test paper before the exam. It doesn't affect your final score, because you already have what you need and you can't remember what you don't have. Do you think, if we lose this time?" Fatty scratched his head and said, "We'll be scolded when we go back. After all, this honor didn't just belong to their team, it also belonged to their country. We have no way out." Luo Qingshun looked up and said with a firm gaze, "I want to take back the championship." Yi Qianhun looked over and saw her serious expression, as a pampering smile appeared on his lips. He used to think that sacrificing gods was the luckiest person in the world because he met Feng Wuyu. But now he felt that he was the luckiest person in the world because he had Luo Qingshun. Sacrificing gods was right. The disappointment in the past was because he didn't meet that person. But when she really stood on the stage, she could fully feel the tense atmosphere. Since this was Fnatic's home ground, the people sitting in the audience were all their fans. This was the so-called home advantage. They had lost the first round. When they returned to the lounge to prepare for the second round, everyone's expressions were a bit serious. "It would have been fine if I didn't jump the tower." Sacrificing gods rubbed his brows. Sorry. No, it's my problem." Feng Wuyu pursed her lips. "If I used my big move earlier, God Qian wouldn't have died. What are you two fighting for?" Fatty patted their shoulders. "It's just that I'm not as good as them." Yi Qianhun looked at the 3 of them with a faint smile. "Don't worry, we'll carry the mid laner next round. Don't worry." Luo Qingshun was surprised. She thought that Yi Qianhun would say that he would carry, but it was actually her. Is there a small problem with this person's brain? Oh no, it's a big problem. She immediately turned to Yi Qianhun. He's clearly an ADC. Carry. Good. If I carry it, what reward will you give me? Oh. The lounge was filled with sighs, and the tense atmosphere disappeared. Let's talk about it after we win. Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and smiled. her white cheeks unconsciously suffused with a touch of red. When the second round began, the opponents looked very relaxed. After all, they had won the previous round very easily. That smile looked like victory was already in their grasp. Fatty's annoyed voice came through the voice chat. "What do we do?" Looking at the smiles on the foreigners' faces, I'm filled with anger. "Then please turn your anger into fighting spirit and finish them off." Feng Wu, you didn't forget to remind the fatty. Chapter 1296. It had to be said, for some of the so-called rewards, Yi Qianhun's performance could be described as perfect. Whether it was the big move, the chain of skills, or the damage output, it was all double that of Luo Qingqian's. The game ended in less than 25 minutes. Yi Qianhun had dealt 45% of the damage, crushing everyone. Zez. Sacrificing God's teased. As expected, it's like God Qian is on steroids with a promise. No one can match him. In the end, they defeated Fnatic with a score of 3-1 and won the IPL 5 championship. This was also the first championship in China's history. After returning to China, there was an exciting box that popped up in the game. Welcome back to the world champions. Because of this IPL 5, they were sent to the top of the industry. In the following year, they were invincible in China, finally having a 49-game winning streak. This was a legend that belonged to them. After this legend, they returned to reality. At the peak, they chose to retire. Because they were getting married. There were waves of unwilling voices on the internet, but Yi Qianhun was very firm. His dream had already come true. The honor he received was just a fluke. On the day of the wedding, Yi Qianhun had specially made a diamond ring for her. It came from the little bear's diamond ring. He said, "When you play Annie, it's especially dazzling." It was at that moment that Luo Qingqian knew that this man in front of her already knew her identity. But he didn't say anything. On a certain afternoon many years later, there was a new generation of W entering S season on TV. Luo Qingqian was curled up on the sofa, hugging a teddy bear as she excitedly watched the game. Yi Qianhun made a cup of milk and slowly walked over to ask, "Are you watching the game?" She took the milk out of habit and made a hand gesture. "I'm watching my male god." "What?" "That ADC. Luo Qingqian pointed at the handsome boy on the screen. "Super handsome." Her seemingly casual words aroused the jealousy of the people around her. He didn't say a word as he pulled her into his embrace. His deep eyes sparkled as he looked at her and said, "Am I handsome, or is he handsome?" Luo Qingqian seemed to realize that she had said something wrong and hurriedly corrected herself. "You are handsome. You are handsome. Hubby is the most handsome." He replied thoughtfully, then continued to ask, "Then is my ADC better, or is he better?" Luo Qingqian looked at him and asked, "Are you asking about the past or the present?" "Both." His beautiful eyes narrowed dangerously, and the corners of his mouth curved into an extremely faint arc. The slender fingers of his right hand had already wrapped around her waist. You. Luo Qingqian immediately raised her hands in surrender. God Qianxian is the #1 ADC in the world. No one can beat him. He looked at her sincere eyes and couldn't help but reveal a doting smile. He raised his hand to play with her messy hair and said, "Did W and the others play well this year?" "Great." Luo Qingqian leaned against his chest-out habit and said, "They really are amazing. It seems like esports will never stop." Yi Qianhun softly hugged her and said, "So what did you like about me before?" "The ADC is amazing." "What else?" "Nothing else. Can't you praise me for being handsome? Don't you feel that you're the most charming on stage?" It seems like this, as a couple with the same interests, it really was good. In this life, he would always like the things she liked, and she would always play the games he wanted to play. Chapter 1297. Hey, have you heard W? Is it the name of a team? No, it's a kind of belief. It's an era. I've had a high talent for games since I was young. When League of Legends came out, it swept the world. I was also deeply attracted to this charming game. At that time, I always liked to play solo. It wasn't until one time when a friend asked me to take care of a girl for him that I deeply felt that girls definitely played this game for their skin. They could turn League of Legends into a collectible game. As long as it was a new hero or skin, it was bought in their world. For someone like me who loved esports, I felt that she didn't respect this game. Although it was like this, I didn't say a word from beginning to end. I just rejected her in the next game. It wasn't that I wasn't interested in playing because of how bad the girl was. Rather, it was because my friend asked her when she was full health, "Why are you going home?" She said, "I feel that the new return effects I bought are very good. I want to watch it a few more times." I could feel my friend being speechless, but since the other side was a girl, he couldn't say anything. But ever since that time, I have an inexplicable resistance towards girls in my heart. This resistance has even risen to the level of lovers. It should be because of my obsession with esports that being single became a habit. Sacrificing gods had said before, "You say this because you haven't met anyone with the same mind." I said, "There is only a single Feng Wuyu in this world. You're lucky to have met her." To be honest, when Feng Wuyu appeared, everyone in our team envied sacrificing gods. Naturally, that included me. But everyone was envious. They didn't have any other feelings for Feng Wuyu other than her. For us, a girl being able to play support like this really was very powerful. Even in the Internet Cafe League, she dared to say she was the best support. No one dared to say they were second. But there were many things that were unexpected. For example, sacrificing gods and Feng Wuyu. For example, mid laner going abroad and support leaving the team. There were many things that happened without us noticing, catching the three of us a bit unprepared. We decided to look for support and mid laners first, starting from the Internet Cafe League in the first half of the year. When he first saw her, he could only use one word to describe her: clean. I thought that a weak-looking boy like her would be applying for the support position. I didn't expect her to apply for the mid laner position. The fatty didn't seem to have high hopes for her, but I had a strange premonition. She will definitely become a teammate who will fight side by side with me. Reality has proven that she has enough power to join our team. By the time she finished her smooth operation, the fatty had already become a corpse before he could even react. I looked at the confident smile on her face, and my heart throbbed a little. That feeling was like a light that broke through all obstacles and shone into my heart without any warning. Of course, I've always known that she was a girl from the beginning to the end. Chapter 1298. At that time, Blazing Fire wasn't a very strong team, but I knew that after a mid laner called Dust Floating in the World joined their team, their points started to rise. At that time, I downloaded a few of her matches, and whether it was basic attacks, lane suppression, or support, she did all of them very well. This was the first time I exclaimed that there was such a strong player in this world. What made me even more surprised was, her profile showed that she was a girl who just turned 18 and was still in high school. This was such an inconceivable thing. Later, I heard people on the esports forum say that she and their team's ADC, Jade Tree, facing the wind, became a couple. I didn't pay much attention to Jade Tree facing the wind, because most of Blazing Fire's matches were Internet Cafe tournaments, so there weren't many videos uploaded. I only knew that he was a very average ADC. He might have some basic skills, but at most he could only be considered excellent. He definitely didn't have any talent. After a period of time, Blazing Fire almost disappeared without a trace. I used all kinds of methods and looked at all the news, but I didn't see any news about that mid laner. That night, there was a huge rain in the city. I sat in front of the computer in the study, took out a piece of white paper, and wrote Dust Floating in the World. Maybe she was still a student and already went back to school, or maybe she had some conflict with Jade Tree facing the wind, so she didn't stay in Blazing Fire. No matter what the reason was, the feeling of a person I had always paid attention to suddenly disappearing was an indescribable feeling of loss. Until, one day, I received a resume from her. When I saw the words Dust Floating in the World, I could very clearly feel my heart suddenly jump, and a warm current went against the flow, straight to my heart. What kind of feeling was that for a cold, arrogant, and somewhat passionate person like me? It could be considered the most exciting thing in this world was the person you thought you never had a chance to get close to actually fell in love with you. Although, she didn't fall in love with me. But this kind of meeting was something I never even dreamed of. But what made me even more surprised was the gender on her resume was male. I suddenly felt a little strange. But in the next second, I realized that my request was that I didn't want girls. I suddenly wanted to laugh, but I couldn't wait to see her. That was the night that I felt was like a miracle. The stars in the sky were dazzling. After she came to W, she became the team's pet. Even the priest, who has never liked talk much, has more words on the side. Everyone sighed at her technique operation, but also did not forget to praise her ability to scold people. Really, it could make the priest and the fatties teasing instantly become very awkward. I vaguely remember that our first match was against Blaze. Without her, that team couldn't even be considered a third-rate team. In front of us, they were nothing. There wasn't a single flaw in her smooth maneuvers. She was simply beating her opponent. As for me, I was so proud to be able to see her in such a radiant state. Chapter 1299. The most vivid memory of that internet cafe competition was when the person in charge of the internet cafe cut off our voice chat. She and I relied on our tacit understanding to do all the operations. This kind of tacit understanding made me feel very excited, even though I didn't say it out loud in the end. But I knew that the girl in front of me had a very different meaning to me. I liked to stay by her side. I even liked to walk behind her and look at her from afar. Whether it was in the game or in reality, I could protect her. Perhaps the heavy rain during the provincial competition was the key to my decision. She wore my jacket and stood in the rain with an umbrella. Her eyes completely fell on me. I actually felt warm in that cold weather. I felt like I could stay in the rain for a little longer, a little longer. We trained very seriously during the provincial competition and never had extra time to do anything else. But what I didn't expect was that the disconnection made us miss the championship. At that moment, I suddenly felt a little powerless. I couldn't give her a championship and couldn't let her continue to shine. But what I didn't expect was that she smiled and said to me, "Let's go play LPL." The Pro League was the dream stage of all League of Legends professional players. Being on that stage represented absolute glory. If she was willing, I could work 10 times harder than what I was doing now. I only hoped that one day we could stand on that stage and hold the trophy that belonged to us. I'm grateful to my team because everyone agreed to this chasing after dreams method of moving forward. If we wanted to enter LPL, we had to enter the qualifiers and become the LSPL champion. The road to chasing dreams was bumpy and bumpy. Although it wasn't smooth sailing, the final result was enough to make everyone smile. We finally succeeded in lifting the trophy that should have belonged to us. That kind of unwillingness to see the enemy use all means and still not win was really satisfying. We can fall, but we can't fall in the same place again. The disconnection of the provincial competition made us miss the championship, so we will use our strength to take back the championship in LSBL. This time, those villains definitely won't be able to stop us. I had her sacrificing gods had Xiao Wu, Fatty, it didn't matter. This was enough. When we won the championship, we also won the ticket to IPL 5. This was an extremely valuable international competition. Every team standing on the stage was the most outstanding team in their respective countries. Everyone knew that the best players in League of Legends were in Korea, and this time, Korea was our first stop in our war against Korea. In the Battle of Gods, even a small mistake can cause us to be eliminated by the enemy. We relied on our persistence and our dreams, and our trust in each other to walk towards the world stage step by step. In the finals, we will be playing against Europe's Fnatic. We played 5 rounds. That day, I had a fever of 40 degrees, but my mind was clearer than ever. We have to win. We have to win. I want to give our country a championship. I want to give her a championship. Fortunately, the scales of victory were on our side this time. We won China's first championship in League of Legends, the miracle red that belongs to us. Perhaps after many years, we will gradually wither away. But I believe that future generations will succeed, and China's esports will never stop. Our long dream has yet to end, but we will never give up. Chapter 1300. Welcome back, host. Luo Qingchun softly replied, "I want to see the scene after I die." All right, this was the first time she wanted to see the scene after she died, because she deeply remembered that she didn't hear the final words Yi Qianhun said to her in the hospital. The bronze mirror gradually emitted a faint white light, and the image in the mirror became clearer and clearer. She was lying in a hospital bed with a thin blanket covering her. Her hair was white and her hands were covered in wrinkles. The one sitting in front of her bed was no one else but Yi Qianhan. Actually, China didn't win that year. The male god she called on TV only reached the top 4 in the end. As the host, in the Sacred Bird's nest, there wasn't a single China team. This was their eternal pain. She slightly raised her hand, and he immediately took it. He said in a gentle and hoarse voice, "What is it? Are you cold? Do you want to drink some water?" In her floating consciousness, she seemed to hear his beautiful voice in a daze. Although it was incomparably old and hoarse, in her memories, it was the best voice to hear. She shook her head and pointed at the TV. He immediately understood and slowly walked over step by step. The finals of the new year came from the TV. This time it was in Beijing, and the Chinese and Korean teams reached the end. W also changed the name of the team to We, going from to. When the scene came to this, she slowly closed her eyes. His originally sluggish footsteps suddenly became vigorous as he ran to her bedside like a madman and hugged her tightly. Without knowing why, even though he knew that this was the end for everyone, hot tears still fell down. Drop by drop, they fell on her cheeks, which were covered with wrinkles. He came close to her ear and softly said, "Actually, I never told you that I wanted you to play support for me once." Hearing this, her tears fell like rain as she stood in front of the bronze mirror. She suddenly remembered that year when she asked him what his biggest regret was. He revealed a faint smile and seriously looked at her. "I won't tell you. Let's stop here." She turned and pursed her lips. "Continue." The following is a summary of the data for this mission. Please read it carefully. Name: Luo Qingchen Space. Esports God. The only CP of the strongest ADC in the country. Mission completion rate: 100%. There are currently 4 items in the EXP spatial storage. Full. Exquisite ring. 9-section moon whip. Moon glass fan. 5,000 exchange points have been automatically deducted. One-dimensional bag has been successfully expanded. The prettiest mirror has been placed inside. 5/5 permanent ability. Space and time. Freeze. LV1 exchange points. 9,500. 500 deducted from the previous dimension. 5,000 for expansion. Base points. 40. Luo Qingchen naturally knew why he wanted to expand the package. It was all for that "I'm the prettiest mirror." Although he was very angry, he was too lazy to argue with the system. Host: the 24th mission panel is below. In the next second, the image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission rating: EXP gained 500, exchange points gained 5,000. Female lead: Luo Qingchen male lead. Feng Si Zui supporting female lead. Qian Siyu supporting male lead. Feng Xingyu mission content: return to the year before the female lead died and obtain the love of the male lead Feng Si Zui. Chapter 1301. After reading this story, she didn't know why she felt like she was suffocating. Because this story was too sad. The previous host was the only daughter of the imperial censor. She had a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. She didn't have any worries since she was young. Her father had a strong influence in court, and she had been respected since she was young. Everyone who saw her liked her, including Feng Xingyu. The previous host met him in the fall of the rice harvest, in the back garden of the Luo Manor. She played hide and seek with the maids, but she never thought that she would hug Feng Xingyu under the white cloth. The moment the white cloth was taken off, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was love at first sight. After that, they decided to be together forever. Feng Xingyu was the 7th son of the emperor, the son of concubine Lung. But with his talent, he was recognized by the imperial censor in the end. But he was that far from the throne. It wasn't just because he had 6 big brothers. It was because he had a little brother, the son of the empress, the crown prince, Feng Si Zui. The number 1 handsome man in the capital had suffered from a strange illness. His body was like a tree sapling, unable to withstand any wind or rain. It was said that he had been bitten by a poisonous snake to save a person while hunting in the suburbs. The cold entered his body, and he almost lost his life. The imperial doctors of the palace were helpless, but a certain healer passing through Long Peace City could see the clues with a single glance. He looked at Feng Zue and whispered in his ear, "Where is the antidote you want? You should know better than me." Feng Zue was surprised, but he just revealed a faint smile. Jianghu magician, ask him to leave the palace. Even if Feng Zue's body was very bad, the emperor still planned on giving him the throne. All of this seemed to have nothing to do with the original owner, but in fact, it had a lot to do with him. Because the imperial censor, who was her father who loved her, had rejected Feng Xingyu's proposal and married her to Feng Zue. Her father had only said one thing to her. The emperor has granted a marriage. It's fine if you don't marry, but you'll lose the lives of the Luo family. His words left her with no choice. Like this, she married an emperor who everyone knew didn't have long to live. The retired emperor was worried that Feng Xingyu would make a move, so he had already sent him and his mother to the barren north. On the day of parting, the previous host entered the palace in the sedan, and the supporting male, lead Feng Xingyu, left through the back door. The previous host hated the retired emperor and hated Feng Zue even more. If Feng Zue didn't agree to this marriage, she would have already married the person she loved and lived a happy life. After entering the palace, Feng Zue gave her the title of empress and had her live in the splendid hall. But she would rather move to the cold palace where Feng Xingyu's mother lived, never taking a single step outside. Feng Zue knew that she hated him, but he didn't dare disturb her. She thought that he had never objected to the marriage on paper, but she was wrong. He was only doing this to save her life. She had been in the cold palace for a year, and there were new harem girls that came each year, but she had never heard of anyone that Feng Zue especially favored. However, he rarely came to look for her. Gold and silver, silk and satin, he gave her the best of everything, but he just didn't come to look for her. Gradually, she became a bit unwilling, strangely unwilling. She wanted to take revenge on him. After he thought that he had her, she would crush his heart. Chapter 1302. It was snowing heavily that night. The previous host was wearing a blue plum blossom brocade robe as she ran all the way to the imperial study. Eunuch was very surprised to see her, but he still said to her, "The emperor is in the splendid hall." The previous host was indeed surprised when she heard this. She never thought that Feng Zue would be in her room. That night, she came walking through the snow. She stood outside the splendid hall with a cool lantern, and there was a faint scent of incense in the hall. He personally opened the door, and when he saw her, he panicked. Feng Zue never thought that she would come looking for him, and he never thought that she would change her mind and be willing to be with him. The light of happiness only lasted for half a year. The previous host was pregnant, and the imperial doctor said that everything was fine. She curled her lips and personally made a pregnancy stabilizing medicine. Actually, this was an abortion pill. She had personally killed her own child. When Feng Zue learned of this, he flew into a rage and spat out blood in the splendid hall, wanting to kill all the imperial doctors. But at this time, the previous host had told Feng Zue the truth with a strange smile. "The child was personally killed by me." She used half a year to make him completely fall for her, and then she used the time to ruthlessly trample on his sincerity. He asked her why. She said, "I like Feng Xingyu." There was something else that she put in her heart and didn't say. Actually, at that time, the previous host had already fallen in love with the male lead. But she didn't admit it and wasn't willing to admit it. She thought that she would only love Feng Xingyu in her life. She couldn't betray their promise and love. Later, he became violent, cruel, paranoid, and overbearing. He never went to the splendid hall again and didn't care where she went. He hated her. He hated her very much. He wanted to use all kinds of methods to torture her. He even wanted to go to hell with her. But he didn't do anything in the end, because the previous host never cared about him. It really was funny. A person who didn't care about herself, she would never feel pain for anything you did. After another half a year, his body kept deteriorating. Feng Xingyu established his own power in the barren north and sent an army forward. That was the last time the previous host saw Feng Zue. He had just returned from the battlefield in his armor. On the battlefield, he said to Feng Xingyu, "If you take a single step forward, I'll kill Luo Qingchen." Feng Xingyu narrowed his cold eyes. Please. In the cold palace, he told her, your Feng Xingyu is back. Do you still hate me? She said, I hate you. I wish you were dead. Feng Zue took out a dagger from his chest and walked towards her step by step. The previous host moved back step by step. In the end, he gently picked up her hand, placed the dagger in her hand, and ruthlessly pierced his own heart. It was probably at that moment that the original owner finally realized who the person she loved was. She even hoped that Feng Xingyu was already dead. That way his country wouldn't be threatened. This way, even if she desperately lied to herself in the cold palace that she had not fallen in love with him, she would still stay by his side. In the end, Feng Xingyu found his and Feng Zue's bodies in the cold palace. At that moment, there was another beautiful girl standing beside him. It seems like we've forgotten our vows to each other. Feng Xingyu had a trace of hatred in his eyes when he said this before continuing, of course, since I've already promised to stay with you, I don't care if your body isn't clean. The beautiful girl standing beside him covered her smile. These words were just that grating. Chapter 1303. After tidying up all the stories, she had just lost her child half a month ago, and her body was still very weak. Luo Qingshun could clearly feel that her hands couldn't use any strength. She had to give his system a thumbs up for this world. It was a cold winter, but her cold palace was filled with heaters. Empress, you're awake. Xiao Chui quickly came over and looked at her. What does the Empress want to do? Let this servant do it. Luo Qingshun waved her hand. The Splendid Hall. Is there anyone living there now? Xiao Chui heard this and timidly said, reporting to the Empress, there's no one living there. But what? The Emperor has already sealed that place. Luo Qingshun calculated the time before looking at Xiao Chui. How many concubines have been sent to the palace over the years? Reporting to the Empress, there are quite a few young ladies, but most of them have never seen the Emperor. As for concubines, there is only concubine Shi Jin, the daughter of the Prime Minister. She was skilled in the four arts. Feng Zue only gave her the title of concubine after all these years. Other than the power of the Prime Minister, there must be another reason. After all, she couldn't imagine that a man who could stab his heart in order to fulfill her happiness in a year would fall in love with someone else. System, give me the male lead's affection. Affection is 50%. Hatred is 50%. Hatred? What the hell was that? Hatred, hatred, hatred. Everyone's words. The host must clear the hatred when the favorability reaches 100% in order to obtain the male lead's love. So the current male lead is the violent, cruel, paranoid, and overbearing stage in her memories, right? Yes. Then what about a year later? Despair and death. Luo Qingshun thought. You really can't blame Feng Zue, because if she was in Feng Zue's shoes, she would do something even more terrifying than him. When all the paranoia reached a certain point, all that was left was despair and death. Tidy up your things. We'll head back to the Splendid Hall later. Standing at the entrance of Xiaohua Hall, she was wearing a snow velvet cloak. On the vermilion door were two large white seals with the words, Forbidden. Luo Qingshun nodded slightly and lifted her right hand to remove the seal. Nyang nyang. Xiao Chui appeared to be a little flustered. She bit her lips and said, if we do this, if the Emperor blames us, Luo Qingshun could tell from Xiao Chui's tone that she was doing this for her own good. After all, this girl had always been by her side. He won't. She gently shook her head as a bitter smile appeared on her lips. He won't mind. To the current Feng Zue, she was a demon that he wanted to go to hell with. But she knew that Feng Zue's hatred was natural. If it was her, she would definitely hate the cruel original owner for using her own flesh and blood as a bargaining chip to make the other party despair. The original owner has paid a painful price in the end. The host shouldn't be too concerned about it. The system seemed to have sensed her thoughts, and its mechanical voice slowly rang out. She took a deep breath and didn't say anything. The previous owner's 50% affection was worse than not leaving it. After all, the paranoid hatred was even more terrifying. She used her entire life to hurt a man she loved so deeply, it really was